How's it going? Disgruntled, morose motherfuckers. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 389 of the Hoots Podcast on this Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Come to you for the break free room here in Chicago, Illinois. Yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez. We are
I can work cameras.
We're exactly 11 episodes away from episode 400 of the Hoots Podcast. So I want to say first and foremost, thanks to each and every single one of you for rocking with us. I got some information about the show that I'm going to share once we get all the plugs and all that jargon out of the way. But I just want to say again, thanks for rocking with us. Whether you listen to the show for 5 minutes or you even check out a full episode, I do appreciate the support. I am not alone this week. We have a good brother to the podcast that's been on the show many and many times over the years, and a good friend just even outside of the contributions to the podcast. So if you haven't seen him for the first time, this is my good friend Patrick Fritz, all the way out from New Jersey. He's a good brother of good brothers. Pat, welcome back to the podcast at Hoots. No!
Whether you've been on, you listening for 5 minutes, or like me, you're on once every 5 months. Yeah, I am coming live from central New Jersey, in between probably two of the hottest places for wrestling in the country. My backyard is pretty much the host of WrestleMania this upcoming year in Dirty Philly, and then obviously New York City, Madison Square Garden, all that other good stuff. What's going on, Josh?
Not much, man. I'm living life. We were having a nice conversation before we pressed the on-air button, and just catching up on things. And I'm like
you got me energetic today, man. You got me energetic. Besides everything else going on, and that little dig you took on me, advertising my appearance on the show today. So, but I'm sure we'll get into that soon.
We'll get to it. We got smorgasbord. That's a big word out there.
Oh, okay.
Of shit.
Hello, word of the day, toilet paper.
So, I was telling Pat, right now in my life, I'm just really focusing on being present and not letting things bring me down over stuff that I don't have control over. And just everything I've been explaining on the podcast over the last couple of months and stuff. And hey man, I can't get over the self-critical and start doubting myself just over the fact that I'm turning 30 next year. Look, man, I got into this field in 2013, right before WrestleMania 29. But even with that, I've been able to accomplish a lot of cool shit in this field, even for my age, and I'm not on the biggest platforms all the time and stuff like that, but I know something is coming. I know a door will open, and you guys better watch the fuck out when that door does open. That's just all I'm going to say. So really, man, I'm just living the life of Michael Jordan from The Last Dance and just his mindset, and just I'm not taking any prisoners. I'm working on myself. I'm redefining who I am, and I'm not taking shit from anybody, and I'm not putting myself in a position where I have to belittle how I see myself through the eyes of other people. I don't live that way. I'm not going to live that way. And I'm just in a really good state of mind right now where I know my value. If you can't acknowledge me on a professional level or a personal level, that's on you, because I have a shitload of people in my life that will attest to my character and the man that I am. So I don't need to explain or sell myself to people. That's where my head's at this point. I'm about my actions and I'm about my word. It is what it is at this point. So
I get an amen?
Amen. So I've just been in really good spirits, man. It's been really cool. Like I said, getting to reconnect with my dad's side of the family since I moved into this new apartment, and just taking things one day at a time, man. December's tomorrow as we're recording this.
That to me is insane. Where did 2023 go? And just we've had so many ups and downs in life, in wrestling in 2023, that it's just amazing that we're a month away from 2024.
Yeah, man, it's wild. It's so crazy, man. Think about this. When I started my workout project in the end of May and into June, CM Punk made his second return in AEW for the debut of Collision. Here we are in November, and my favorite wrestler is now back in the WWE.
I tell you, if you looked at possible bingo cards for 2023, having CM Punk be return to AEW and unceremoniously get fired and then return to WWE is just probably one of the longest shots that you would ever see happen. And honestly, real talk for a second, bravo to Triple H, because as soon as Hunter has gotten the reins from the powers that be at TKO, like, dude is taking the ball and running the hell to the house for a touchdown. Like, it's amazing. I just am really interested to see, especially when we get to the turn of the year, the build up for Rumble. And then obviously now we are having more premium live events. And God, I hate that term. We're having more events like internationally. We have, Elimination Chamber is now going to be in Australia. There's going to be a event in Germany. It's just amazing. And I even think they're having another one in London, if I remember correctly. That to me is just unbelievable.
Yeah, they're going to be in Paris for Backlash at their WrestleMania.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right before the Olympics, which is unbelievable.
Business is booming. That's what I was saying. Mm-hmm. Hey, let me ask you a question really quick before we get to the plugs and stuff. Do you subscribe to the theory that me and the good brother Sam Piopo have that Philly is trash?
Well, considering the fact that one of the teams that I root for is not one of your direct rivals, but the Devils, and one of their hated rivals is the Flyers, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. But the Eagles, who I have no love lost for either, are doing pretty well for themselves this season. Not going to lie.
Here's my mindset going about this right now. Like, obviously, I want to be there.
Oh, yeah. I would absolutely 100% love to be there.
Yeah, like, I want to be there. If I can't go, I'll begrudgingly get myself like a WrestleMania hoodie or whatever. Like, it's like black and green, like the logo, whatever it's going to be this year.
Yeah,
I'll get that. But I just everything that's gone on professionally for me. I was like, I felt like I took 3 steps back for the fact that I wasn't in California for 39 this past year. So yeah, Philly, I don't mind the cheesesteaks. The people are Nimrods collectively, besides my good brother Anthony DiStefano, but the rest can go the fuck home and stay the fuck home. That's an old saying that we used to do here on the podcast. Anyways, man, really quick, you could follow Pat, by the way, on social media. Make sure to follow.
Where am I? There I am.
Yep, rated PWF on X. We could throw up the X really quick for Chris Zaletta at XTeenZaletta24X on Twitter.
I hate that they call it X. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's always gonna be Twitter to me. I'm sorry.
Hey, you're not alone. I mean,
Elon can go, find himself a dark corner to hide in, but it's always gonna be Twitter to me.
By the way, you can submit your nominations for the CLAHN of the week. We will be doing that segment today, so get ready for that.
I have a good nominee. Trust me. Actually, 2. Now that I think about it,
2 of them.
I have 2 of them.
Okay. Really quick on Instagram, you could hit me up if you like at Joshie Lopez Media. Check out my play-by-play articles at WrestlingHeadlines.com. So I do Raw, SmackDown, and NXT every week, plus the pay-per-views. I am a traditionalist too, so I'm not.
Yeah, pay-per-views.
But it's a pay-per-view.
You're still. I'm sorry. You can call them live events, whatever the hell you want. You're still paying for it. Like, I literally just got back on to subscribing through Peacock through Comcast.
Yeah.
And literally I had to do like 1 or 2 things, but you're still paying for it in a way.
Yeah.
And one other thing real quick while we're on that subject, I hate the fact that you have to have the super high-end subscription on Peacock in order to get out of commercials with those events. Because you have to pay like the $20 a month subscription to get like just the recap videos of all the rivalries in WWE, when you literally could watch the kickoff show and get the exact same video for free.
Yeah, it's the same thing. They show.
Yeah, it's literally the exact same thing.
I'll say this. Yeah, I am paid for Peacock, and for a while now, I felt like it was like a little bit of a chore for me to pay for it, but I had it for work purposes. But now,
Yeah.
like, as I started watching like the Love Island shows, now I have something else to watch it, so it's pretty good. Real quick, as far like I said on social media, you can hit me up at Joshie Lopez Media. I'm on X on at the Hoots Podcast. Pretty simple deal. Please Twitter, whatever you do, don't block me.
God, let's not go through that again.
I got suspended and blocked for the dumbest reason of all hell. You can have movie scenes. What? Porn. What? You can have anything copyrighted on God's weird earth these days. Now, if you log in on Twitter, but I got suspended for measly guitar covers that you hear my guitar over the track.
Yeah.
Like, what crime?
And on Facebook and Instagram Reels, you could have literally women pretty much like 85% naked and nobody says anything about it.
Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Really quick, I wanted to mention this because this is a trending topic. Obviously, before Christmas, they always do this thing on Spotify called like Spotify Rap, and it's for people that use Spotify, and it's also for creators too. So, for those who don't know, on the Hoots Podcast, I run the show, the audio version through a site that used to be called Anchor, but now it's called Spotify for Podcasters. So, Spotify. By the way, thank you, Spotify. Love you, Spotify. A little Pat McAfee show impersonation there. But I want to give a shout out to Spotify because they host the RSS feed that I use to have the show out on Apple Podcasts. What?
Stitcher.
What? New one here, Pandora.
What?
Amazon Music.
What?
I didn't even know that was the thing. You can get podcasts now on Amazon.
Listen. There's no reason right now why you can't get this anywhere that you're listening to, like a podcast or the video feed, whatever.
Right. We don't even have a Patreon. You get this jack free. You're getting top tier authentic content that's not a dirt sheet booking show the entire time. Like the Hoots Podcast is a rare commodity, and you get it for free every single week, folks.
What? You don't have a Fansly or an OnlyFans? What?
No. God, no. Trust me, I make no bones about it that I'm positive when it comes to embracing sexual stuff and all that stuff, but you will never catch me.
There's ways to be tasteful about it.
Yeah, of course.
Just say that.
Yeah, well, you need to have self-awareness first to even
yes,
go first.
Absolutely.
But like, I'm pro about like embracing sex and all that stuff, but at the same time, you won't catch me wasting my money on OnlyFans and stuff like that. I'm not taking away the hustle for people who do that stuff, but you're not going to catch me.
Yeah, I mean the pandemic really had an explosion in that realm of the interwebs, I'll say.
Yes.
And a lot of people that I've encountered or I've seen posting on any sort of social media are like, yeah, that's my main source of income. And I'm like, hey, you do you. Like, right. if that is how you want to make your living, I'm all for it. Go for it. Just don't come knocking on my door saying that, I have to subscribe to it. Don't, like, my whole lifestyle is is just, okay, you do whatever you want to do. Just give me the exact same freedom that I'm giving you. I'm not judging. As a popular, gym tagline is, I'm a judgment-free zone.
Right.
Shout out to, if you know what that is. But don't come putting your pressures and your lifestyle on me if I don't agree with 100% of it. That's all.
Right, exactly. So Spotify, bring us back full circle here. Spotify has this thing where they show you like your top 5 artists that you listen to.
I haven't seen that going around. I don't use Spotify, so I don't have a top 5. So,
well, I'll ask you later when we get to the back porch, like what's your top 5 this and stuff like that. We'll
okay
get to the list, but So they were doing this, and I get this as a creator, so I get like the analytics of the show basically and some cool information. So I'm gonna put this on a screen share really quick, and you guys can check this out really quick. This is really a big opportunity for me to give all of you a shout out for continue on like supporting this podcast. So let me put on the screen. You guys see it right here on the screen.
Wow.
So this is what I got as I logged into my Anchor account yesterday morning. And so for 2023, we're up 25% on listenership, 16% on streams. I guess you can stream the podcast on Spotify as well. And look at this. This one really stood out the most.
That's a good number. That third one is definitely a good number for you.
44% on for followers. It's really, really humbling, man. You know, I was talking about this with Pat before the show went on air today. Like, you know, I've been in my head like I don't know whether the show has like been overstaying its welcome. Am I even good at this stuff? And when I see stuff like that, it's reassuring in a lot of ways because look, man, I don't have a blue check mark. I'm not gonna buy a blue check mark. Elon Musk could go fuck himself as far as I'm concerned, and Andrew Tate too. At the same time, for me, like it's cool to see that because look, I'm not Rosenberg, I'm not Sam Roberts. I'm not gonna take away from people who have these big platforms that, in more cases than not, are the reason they have the numbers that they get. Let's just be honest. But I'm for a DIY project to have that type of reach in the manner in which this podcast is, it's awesome, man. This show's been around for 8 years now, and to still see progress like that is really fucking cool. So I'll bring you guys a little bit behind the scenes of the show here. I'll put this out as well.
Oh, he's pulling back the curtain, everybody.
This is what the podcast behind the scenes looks like here. So you guys check out the video version on our YouTube channel. By the way, just type in @the Hoots Podcast and subscribe there. But all right, enough make Foley.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what the site looks like right now on Anchor. Right here is how many downloads and plays that we've had collectively since I put the show on Spotify. Basically, we're 8,000 away from 900,000. Spotify followers are at 26, which is okay. It's a new thing. I didn't know you had that metric, but if you look at last week's episode here, almost 24,000 people checked out the show last week.
Well, that's about to go down since I'm on it. Jeez.
But literally, folks, we are
nosedive.
It's just wild, man, because like we are literally 108,000 plays away from 1 million. We're getting there.
That's good, man. And again, I told you before we went on air, like you are really, focusing on what you should be focusing on in your life right now, and that's you and getting yourself right. And those metrics that you just posted on the screen are valid to me. That is validation for you.
Yeah,
that's validation. Again, you said it to yourself. You've been doing this for 8 years, and you've had a variety. You're the main host. You've had a variety of co-hosts, special guests, myself included. Which I'm always grateful the fact that you have me on. You can choose not to, but you are very open to having a broad range of people like guests and come on. And you know what? That I think has longevity to it right there too. It's because you're open to having other people on here. And shout out to brother Derrico, because he's one of the main reasons I think that the back and forth between you two, I think, is one of the cool reasons why you are where you are. And I think that having that is such a welcome. It's just refreshing to me, because a lot of other podcasts on there are very cookie cutter, if I can use that term, and your podcast just is refreshing in a way.
I appreciate that, man. Like I openly admit sometimes listening back, I'm be like, man, sometimes I could maybe put people in an uncomfortable conversation because I keep getting bulletized and we're having some like real deep like conversations that's why I say the back porch Q&A session, because really with the show and that segment in general, it would be the same conversation I would have with you off air if I was sitting next to you in person. And that is the goal that myself and Adam had when we started the show together in 2016, is that yeah, it's gonna be wrestling. Everybody and their mother has a wrestling podcast these days. And we're gonna have uncomfortable conversations at times. It's gonna make you think at times, and it's not a one man show. Like you said, man, I'm not where I'm at without Adam. I'm not where I am without Doctor Derico now.
Oh, that's right, Dr. Derico. I forgot.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's really doing good for himself too, and I'm really glad to see that as well, because he's really one thing after following him from where he used to be and where he is now is just his evolution as well, and he's doing a really good job as well. And honestly, shout out to Adam as well, because Adam, I've known Adam for a very long time.
Yeah.
And he's had me on various iterations of his podcasting, and I mean, I always say this when I come on here. I think that he is sorely missed, and he's definitely doing well in his life.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that people like yourself, people like I'm sorry, Dr. Derico, and Adam are doing well in their lives, because it's refreshing to see that just good people doing good.
Right. I'm happy for Adam, man. I got the chance to talk to him about a couple months ago on I don't know if it was like Zoom or one of those like video message things, but I had a good conversation with him for a couple hours and stuff. So it was nice to catch up with him and stuff. And he's doing his thing, man. He's living his life, man. So I'm happy he's doing well. He's in good spirits. Yeah, man. It's really cool, man. Like, the fact that we will get to episode 400 right before WrestleMania is cool. I'm excited for that, and then we'll see where
that's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. I gotta see what I can do for that. I've been trying to manifest this, and this is the broadcaster in me stepping in now. This is where I could go to transition to the next segment. I've been trying to manifest having an interview with CM Punk. I've been trying to I expressed it here on the show. I have expressed that, like, hey, Punk, if you want an actual interview that's not rooted in dirt sheet agenda, this is the place for you.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely put you on so many maps if that were ever to happen.
Yeah. CM Punk, if you want like a Chicago safe, I wouldn't say safe, but if you want a fun interview and where you can just be vulnerable, just be yourself, man, come on the Hoots Podcast, and I'm just throwing it out there, man. So, folks, if you want to see CM Punk on the Hoots
here we go.
Put it out there on social media. I'm throwing it out there.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, subscribe for sure. All right, folks, it's time for this week in WWE. Let's address the elephant in the room. And here's the deal, man. When I transcribe a show, when I do like my play-by-play articles, it's very hard for me at times where the fan in me comes out, where I have like that, oh shit, or like I mark out, or like I'm upset about something. Like, for me, I have so much tunnel vision while I'm transcribing the shows that I don't have that time to think about, okay, this person should have went over. Oh, this match should have been like placed here, like the match orders and stuff like that. There's so much like ancillary shit that you see people type and stuff and like react to on Twitter that I'm not thinking about as I'm transcribing the show. So, for example,
all right, let me pause right there for you, Josh. I know what you're referring to. I'm just gonna, you talked about the elephant in the room. Let's just get it out of the way right now. R-Truth is back, baby. Yes, yes. Mr. 24/7 I-95 87 European television champion. He is back to save us from everything else in WWE going wrong right now.
Yes. R-Truth has escaped Sioux Falls City. Oh man. Triple H.
I really threw you off there. I know I did.
Oh, that was funny because I did watch that press conference too. That was pretty funny.
Yes.
But so they had the main event for War Games was the men's War Games match. And for example, this is a little behind the scenes here. When I'm transcribing a show, what I use is the chat box that you use on like Gmail. If you're sending an email, it's just easier for me because I'm writing down a lot of fucking moves, and I need to have it so I could just visually see where I could like separate the paragraphs that I need to, because you don't want a full match recap just one like
Yeah, you need to space it out and let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically what I do with the transcript. So I'll write it out just with the experience in covering like New Japan and all these other companies. I kind of know where to pinpoint what the different parts of the match are. So like if it's a regular match, I'll do it, and by the time it's over, I'm like taking what I took from the Gmail and then copying it and pasting on WordPress. So that's what I do. And I was doing it. I was like, okay, we got the little watermark there, that little end of the show logo. Like, okay, here we go. I'm about to post this. This is like, okay, the men's War Games match that I did on my transcript was like 5 paragraphs. So I got that. Yeah. And right as I was about to press update on WordPress, I heard the song. I heard the and I'll tell you what, you could call me like whatever, but a brother did shed a tear when I heard the not only that, but the pop in the. I've been in that building.
Yeah,
I've been for a lot of special moments, but the pop that I heard at that time, knowing what was happening at the time, just overwhelmed me to a point that I didn't expect that it was going to. Obviously, this is something I've been waiting to happen since the day he left WWE, because for those who don't know, the first night I did a play-by-play article was the same night he quit that Raw in Cleveland after that Royal Rumble in 2014. That was the first night I did a wrestling transcript. And here we are almost 10 years later. Now think about this fact. The Royal Rumble in 2024 is on the same day he left the WWE.
Yeah, and the Royal Rumble, no disclosure, the Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. I love the concept of the Royal Rumble. Because you know who's coming out. Well, you more than likely know about 75 to 85% of the men and the women that are coming out, but it's always fun to me to find out the order in which they come out, because the first 2 versus the last like 6 are always the interesting ones to me, because you look at, last year, or 2 years ago, I forget when Gunther went the longest. I forget if it was last year or 2 years.
Last year.
But you look at guys like that don't really need that longevity in a match like that to put themselves over.
Yeah.
But I mean, my God, that match can make, even if you don't win it, the stats that you gain from doing that are something that are repetitively brought up, time after time after time. And another side note about Gunther, by the way, I don't care when he drops the IC title. I really don't. I really hope that it's just, a good passing of the torch to whoever, takes it from him.
Yeah.
But please, for the love of God, give us a Gunther Roman match before Roman hangs it up, because it is so goddamn over fucking due at this point. I don't care when it happens. Just make it on an event that everybody can watch, because it will burn the house down. It will. It has to.
Absolutely. And if people are still going to try to tell you that Roman Reigns can't work, then they're full of shit, because you watch what he does with Gunther, and then it's going to be, oh my God, match of the year. And it will. Here's the thing, man. Like with Gunther, I would say he's probably outside of like there's a guy in New Japan called Ishii. Outside of Ishii, Gunther's my favorite wrestler to like do those articles, like the transcribe stuff. Gunther's the man. This is the great thing about wrestlers, when you have all monikers, right? You'll hear these different gimmicks for these different wrestlers, but you see them and it's actually true to what they are and what they present. that's when you know that you're on another level than other performers. Let me drop a couple comments here that we have here on YouTube. Here, Varna says Heyman to turn on Roman at WrestleMania and lining with Punk. That's been
Now,
thing on Twitter a lot recently. There's another one. He says thoughts on my fantasy card: Punk versus Roman. You mentioned it. Cody versus Orton. Rollins versus anyone with Damian cashing in. You know what, Varna? I'm gonna say that towards the end of our podcast, which we do is called the Back Porch Q&A. But keep sending in questions during the show, and I'll make sure to answer those once we get towards the end. All right, buddy.
yeah, because I have some comments on. I have a response to all those right now. So we'll put that. We'll let that simmer as the the Food Network terms go. We'll let that simmer on the back burner for a little bit.
Mm. Okay, so when Punk came out, like I said, I got this is the part for me. Like I lost my shit. I didn't want to scream, obviously, because I live here with my grandparents on my dad's side of the family. Obviously, you guys know I had to move out. But not only that, I have my aunts and uncle who live on the top floor as well. So I didn't want to scare anybody. Like I didn't want to just like lose my shit in that manner. But at the same time, like I admit I shed a tear, man. I was like, man, it's just crazy because like last week on the podcast, for those who listen, I said like, all these people on these shows are like, oh, I'm telling you, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's gonna be at the Rumble. It's gonna be a Rumble. And I'm like, dude, man, can we just be present in the moment? Whether it happens or it doesn't happen, too many times we get ourselves and we work ourselves into like shoots with our fantasy booking ideas. And look, I'm a wrestling fan just like anybody else. I'm not above anybody that does this type of stuff. I'm a fan just as much as anybody else. But at the same time, with my experience in the field, like I'm so past that. Okay, if my fantasy booking idea doesn't go through fruition, then it was the wrong decision. Too many times on these shows, people are like, I had this idea. I'm going to prove to you that's the right idea to do. Then it doesn't happen. And then they go on a fucking tirade over the fact that the company didn't go the way they want to do it. We can't put ourselves into shoots because you know what happens? Punk comes out and then everybody's like, oh, it's predictable. Oh, we knew Punk was going to be there. We knew. So, and then you're the same person. The next show that you do, it's not you, Pat. I'm not pointing.
Yeah, I know.
You get what I'm saying. But that next person would be like, oh, what happened to the surprises in wrestling? You do it to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching, I watched War Games Saturday and I was like, okay, it's not the biggest it's not the biggest event on the card. You only had like you only had two championship matches. I think you had Rhea defending against Zoe Stark, and you had Gunther and Miz for the IC title, and then you had like one or two filler matches, and then you had the War Games matches. And when you look at the War Games matches, you're going to have the War Games matches at least are going to take at least 45 minutes. We know this just because of the design of the match, the spots in the match, and everything else. So at least if you're running that event at let's say 4 hours, just for argument's sake, the War Games matches themselves are going to take up at least half to 60% of the time. So you're already looking at 2 hours, just more than 2 hours in those matches. Now, when the timer ran out for Orton to come out, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it's like the big, will he, won't he type, debacle. And then Damian points to the ramp, and then Rhea runs down with, ref Jess, who, that was awesome. And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this is going to be like the moment, like they try to cash in, Orton's music hits, he comes out, cleans house, yada, yada, yada. And then Orton passes off, Cody to say, okay, you do the final, the final finisher, and then you get the cover, and then, we all pose and everything else. And as I was pulling back, I was like, oh, okay, this was nice. And then I'm looking at the far shot. I'm like, why are they doing a far shot? I'm like, something in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, something's going on. And then they do the wide shot of the arena. Punk's music hits, and my first thought is like, holy shit, they actually pulled it off. And the place goes nuts, which and back to your point again about surprises in wrestling, it's Chicago. Every single time they go to Chicago, what is the bulk of the questions that are asked? Is how many Punk chants are there going to be? Is he going to be there? Are they going to bleep it out because it's Punk and he's no longer with the company? Let this breathe. There was a reason that they hyped up Orton at the end of Raw before War Games. There was a reason that during the course of the night they were like, okay, is he? Will he? Won't he? Will he? Won't he? It was distraction, people. It was distraction to pull the wool over your eyes to the fact that Punk was coming back. Now, yes, do I think that him coming back at Chicago right after Orton, re-debuted was the best idea? No, I don't think it was the best idea. But you know what? I'm sure Trips and Orton had a conversation and just said, and Trips went to Orton. He said, Randy, listen, you're coming back. You're a seasoned veteran. Everybody knows you. This is your big, comeback in the War Games match. But we're gonna have another surprise, and it's gonna be Punk coming out to play up the crowd.
Right.
You already had the and by the way, both face teams winning their respective War Games matches. I did not see that coming. I thought Damage Control was going to win the women's War Game match, but that's neither here nor there. But the way that they pulled it off is amazing, because now going into December, going into January, and into Mania season, now pretty much everything is on the table, because you don't know, where Punk's going to land. You don't know where Cody is right now, and you don't know who's and even Orton. Orton has now publicly declared he's going after the Bloodline. So does that mean that it's going to be Orton and Roman at the Rumble? And it's that culmination of that story, because that's what we had last year with, the buildup of the Bloodline, and then Sami turning on Roman, and then that led us to, Sami getting the match at Elimination Chamber with Roman, which then led to Sami and KO winning the tag titles at Mania last year.
Right.
Now for WWE, this and Triple H, I'm sure, is smirking ear to ear, and somewhere Vince is even smirking ear to ear, because he knows, what is Eric's tag, Eric Bischoff's tagline from his book: controversy creates cash.
Think about this, Pat. CM Punk, whether people like him or not, is the wild card going into WrestleMania 4.
Oh, hell to the yeah.
So, like, everything you just said right there, there's nothing I could disagree with. You all brought in great points. Varna, I think with AJ, you probably have him and Roman at the Australia show, to answer your question, because obviously AJ needs to get a receipt for what happened to him, because he was about to have a match with Roman, and then Bloodline took him out. So I probably hold off the AJ stuff till the Australia show.
I could see that being, as bad as this is, I could see that being downplayed onto like a SmackDown that Roman comes back out on. I really could.
If you want to get a rating out of it, I could see that for sure. Here's the thing, man, and there's a clip I want to play from Cody, as you brought up Cody. Obviously, for me, it's hard for me to be objective with this situation with CM Punk. Obviously, he is my favorite wrestler, and he's a hometown guy for me.
I was about to say, he's your boy.
He is my boy, but I'm glad that you're here to get a different perspective on this situation, because, we all saw the stuff that happened in AEW. Unfortunately, I had to chronicleize it here, and like I mentioned before, he's at fault as much as anybody else in AEW for what happened there. And just because he's my favorite wrestler doesn't mean that he's immune for criticism on my own end too. I'm not one of those fans who put a blind eye to their favorite wrestlers. This is not a Sasha Banks situation where she does absolutely nothing wrong. No,
I mean, I will be the first to admit, I don't actively watch AEW. I am a very passive watcher of AEW. I don't hate AEW at all. I think that, them existing is never a bad thing. There's always good things with competition. I just don't think right now they have, I don't want to say the star power, because that's not really the terminology, but I don't think they have really the foundation, let's call it, to compete against WWE, especially in this time of the year. Like, this 4 to 5 month stretch is where WWE really is like not coming into their own, but WrestleMania season, which WWE famously advertises begins at the Rumble, which it really doesn't. It begins, a couple of weeks before, because that's when you're building all your matches. That's when you're advertising for it. And then it starts probably a week or two before the Rumble and then goes, maybe 2 weeks after WrestleMania. That's like the season, because the week or two after WrestleMania is really where you see what happens in the fallout from WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's the playoffs, and then
exactly. Playoffs.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
I'm talking about playoffs. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs.
You go to the playoffs, and then you go to Backlash, and it's not a bad thing. Like, of course, it's hard to follow up a WrestleMania, but like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I think that is, unfortunately, that for WWE is their Achilles heel, is because they come off the biggest show of the year, and they come off like the Raw after WrestleMania, a SmackDown after WrestleMania, because those are where you potentially see, is there anybody being called up from NXT? Yeah. Is there anybody that's, that won a championship? Like, are they getting, a rematch with their competitors? Like that right there is always the wild cards, because that's the true season premiere. Like, I understand with television, season premieres are in September, and WWE is like, all year round. I get that. I mean, also, side note, does WWE really have a season finale? It doesn't. It just says season premiere. So let's get away from that season premiere talk. Like, that's just dumb.
Yeah, it's just the double-edged sword with networks that you gotta deal with. That's just the double-edged sword of it. I get what you're saying, but it's just an episode title.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an episode title, and it's just, again, it's the hype machine that is WWE. Like, if they can put a classic WWE show, as in like a Legends night, or a throwback night or something, like, that's awesome too. And by the way, with Halloween Havoc, I absolutely love the fact that they have like the match wheel. But if they go back to Vegas again for a Raw or a SmackDown, bring that wheel back, because I miss Raw Roulette. I miss them spinning the wheel. They have it's a night full of gimmick matches. Like, have just a night of those, because honestly, you need more matches. Like, I really feel there's like too many backstage segments. There's too much talking, and there's not enough matches sometimes with WWE, and that's a problem.
Yeah. No, I remember those Raw Roulettes, because I remember one time Booker T was there, right? He spins the thing, and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be on like neck bones." All right, so like I was saying, I equate like that show after WrestleMania like exit interviews in the sports realm. Like, it's your exit interview.
That's a good comparison. I like that.
That's how I look at it. But like, this is great where I have you here, because you've probably seen it through Twitter about what happened with Jungle Boy Jack Perry and the Young Bucks, and then Tony Khan saying that he felt like his life was threatened and stuff like that, and all this nonsense. And I always said, like, yeah, no shit, AEW puts out good matches. It's good that AEW exists, but they continue to get in their own way, and we'll talk about that when I get to the segment later on. But like, just good wrestling matches is not enough. You could bring in Will Ospreay, you could bring in his mother, you could bring his grandmother, you could bring whoever you want that's placates to that niche audience, but you have no infrastructure. It's inmates run the asylum, and exactly. And the owner and the face of your figurehead of your company is a fucking clown. I'm just gonna be honest. He's a clown. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people that are upset, and they're like, I saw people call Punk a traitor. They're calling him a hypocrite. Dude, there's not one person in the wrestling industry that's not a hypocrite. Sorry to break the news to you, but wrestling,
you can
not a morale fest.
You can sum it up, and you sum it up with the last two lines of Punk's promo for Monday night. He's not there to make friends. He's there to make money.
Bingo. It's the wrestling business. It's not a fucking daycare center.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that, and I still can't believe I have to call him by his actual name and not his former name, but Adam Copeland, what was one of the premier reasons that he went to AEW after his WWE contract ended? He wanted to work with Christian Cage.
Yeah.
It's again, it's the connections that you have, and he and Adam and Christian have this storied history together.
Yes.
Storied history together. And why do two people like that find themselves working together? Because they want to do it. Why did Punk go back to WWE? Because he had the opportunity to do it. He had the opportunity. He talked to Triple H, and real talk, I'm sure that the moment he saw that TKO removed Vince McMahon as head of creative and still Triple H in there, probably opened up the thought bubbles on Punk a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me because I was thinking about it the other day. What was one of the really crazy lines from Punk's original pipe bomb promo? You think, when Vince McMahon was dead, his idiotic son-in-law and his daughter were going to take over, and one of those two things actually happened.
Yeah.
and again, I'm so glad that he's back because even if he has and again, this is not a knock on Punk, this is not a knock on Roman. If he has a Roman type schedule where he only wrestles certain times of the year, he shows up, but he only wrestles certain times. You know what? I will gladly take it because guys like Roman, guys like Cody, guys like Punk, you know what? They are coming towards the end of their prospective careers. They are getting up there in age. Now, Punk, I give immediate respect to because the guy's been away for 8 years. So he's had the chance to not have as many, injuries, not take any bumps, during that period of time. He got himself back into great shape. He's had, a few, handful of really good matches in AEW. And you know what? Maybe he returned to WWE because he wants to work with Roman. He wants to work with Cody. He wants to work with the guys that he sees where the landscape is right now. And he's like, you know what? That's a place that I want to go back to because you know what? There's some people there that I really want to watch. And you know what? A lot of people know me because of that area. Granted, he made a name for himself on the independent scene before he ever got into NXT, before he even got into WWE or all, the older independent promotions that, basically became NXT.
Yes.
But a lot of his popularity skyrocketed with, the pipe bomb promo, him leaving, him resigning, him saying a lot of the things that a lot of the wrestling fandom base had said previously about Vince, about Triple H, about all the backstage politics.
Right. I want to play a clip here really quick from Cody Rhodes, and I'm going to ask you 2 questions after I play this because I do want to get your other thoughts because there was a pay-per-view that happened. There was some good stuff that happened on Survivor Series besides what happened towards the end of the show. But I want to play this clip here from Cody speaking about CM Punk. We'll play it. I'll ask you the question about Cody, and then we'll talk briefly about the promo that Punk had on Raw on Monday, because I know that's been a hot topic on social media as well. So let's play this Cody clip from the press conference on Saturday night about CM Punk returning to WWE. As you hear in the audio, it wouldn't be CM Punk conversation at a scrum without Nick Hausman. So here you go.
CM Punk's back in WWE. How do you feel about it, especially considering the fact that you had gone and tested the waters at the other big companies, started the other big companies, really? EVP, you pointed out.
With others, absolutely. My boys, with others, yes.
Absolutely. So what's your take on Punk coming back to WWE?
I don't want to be short with my response, but really it truly is this. If he can help with where we're going and what we're doing, absolutely. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. And I have a feeling that the CM Punk that potentially we're getting is hungry. And that's the best. That's the best. When someone's hungry, when somebody wants to be, when it's real. And I'll give kudos and flowers to Triple H and Nick Khan for isn't that done? You could ask all the boys and girls till they're blue in the face, hey, how do you feel? You know, you might get up, you might get down, you might have a wide range of emotions, but the first thing always is business. And again, we're doing record business. Feels like everybody wants to be here. More the merrier. If you can help, absolutely come on board.
All right,
Wow.
there's Cody from the press conference.
I'll be honest. That is my first time watching that, hearing that. That is the perfect response. That is the perfect, absolute response. Because literally, Cody is absolutely right. If Punk can help, you know, get in there, and help.
The reason I share that, a lot of things we do here in the Hoots Podcast, I like to share context that's not like shared a lot of times on these type of shows. It's even like clips like that, and it's a big conversation starter. Like with Cody, you know, me and you are big Pat McAfee show fans, right? So everybody knows about the stuff that happened with The Rock in Colorado and him.
That was amazing, by the way. That was absolutely. I unfortunately, that night on SmackDown, I was out. I didn't have a chance to watch it live, so I DVR SmackDown. So I was on social media, and all of a sudden I see, you know, oh, Pat McAfee's here, and I was like, oh yeah, well he was like right up the road, and then he goes, The Rock is back, and my first thought is like, oh well, that makes absolute freaking sense, because you know what, he was on, you know, College Game Day that day. He was right up the road, so it was literally a hop, skip, and a jump. It was almost like if he was in New York doing something, and then like Raw, SmackDown was in Philadelphia. I'm like, I know for a fact, having driven between both cities, that it's only maybe about like a 2.5-3 hour drive. So it's not that big of a move to, you know, get from one place to another.
Yeah. So I brought it up because, you know, a lot of people have been talking about what should happen with Cody. Do they want to see the second match with Roman at WrestleMania? I'll be honest with you, I've said it already. The fact that people are still talking about it here in November, that Roman should beat Cody at WrestleMania, kind of tells you why it worked that Roman retained. I know a lot of people have issues with the schedule, but you can't blame the player for playing the game. That's how you about the contract. You could be upset at the company for agreeing to that stipulation. I'm not taking that away from anybody, but you can't blame Roman for negotiating the way he wanted to go about that business. But that's the other side topic.
I think in his promo when they right before Night of Champions last year, Triple H, you know, even though it was a scripted promo, Triple H had a perfect line in his promo about when they were reinstating the World Heavyweight Championship. He goes, you know, if I was Roman back in the day and I had a schedule, or I made a deal or signed a deal that I didn't have to be here as frequently, I would have absolutely taken it too. And that right there is the quintessential thing. And yeah, technically right now, Roman is holding 3 championship belts when you think about it, because he has the mainline WWE championship. He has technically he has the first iteration of the World Heavyweight Championship, because that's what the WWE Championship was after Cena and Orton unified it. And then he has the Universal Championship. So technically he has 3 championships right now. Mm-hmm. Do I like the fact that they're calling it the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship? Absolutely hell no. It is the WWE Championship. Call it as such. Right. Like, I'm sorry. The Universal Championship lineage needs to die. It just needs to go away. And if you want to have, you know, the Roman be the SmackDown, you know, heavyweight champion, and Rollins, you know, be the current Raw heavyweight champion, I'm totally fine with that. I don't care. Like, I get the fact that, you know, Roman is up there. He's, you know, still battling, you know, health issues supposedly. I get the fact that he's not there as often. But look, when and again, this lends credence to when he does come here. When he does show up, what happens with the ratings? The ratings skyrocket. When he's on a live event, what happens? the buys go through the roof. Why? Because he now is a glorified attraction. He is the next Brock Lesnar, as much as I hate to say it, because he's not there every week, but when he is there, he draws.
Yeah.
And good. And honestly, good on him for putting himself in a position to do that. And he has the perfect mouthpiece in Heyman. He has the perfect guys surrounding him. He had his family surrounding him. Granted, out of the Usos, they're really pushing Jay on Raw. Like he was involved in a main event. And I think I read somewhere that this past year so far, he's now been in like 5 or 6 main event matches this year.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second. Holy crap! That Jey Uso, a guy who a lot of people would thought would be probably just a tag team wrestler for his entire career, has now broken out and been in a number of matches. I hate to say this, but I'm going to make a comparison for a second. Jey Uso is the new Jeff Hardy in WWE. Granted, he doesn't have the extreme spots that a Jeff Hardy does, but look at where, after they broke up, look at what happened with, Matt Hardy's career versus Jeff Hardy's. I mean, Jimmy Uso is kind of now just like fallen by the wayside. He really is an afterthought. If you're going to have Solo take over as, the next tribal chief, so to speak, like you are surrounding him with the perfect guys.
Right. No, like with the whole stuff with Roman, like what I'm trying to get at is like I heard Cody on Bust Open, like he was saying that regardless of whether it's The Rock or whoever, that he's not flinching. Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at with the whole Pat stuff. Like, I know, obviously Roman will be there and he will defend the title. And look, if you ask my opinion, at this point, you could flip the coin up in the air. I really don't care who fights Roman because you have a lot of different good options from a business point of view. If it's Rock, you're going to get good business out of it. If it's Punk, you're going to get good business out of it. If you run it back with Cody, you're going to get good business out of it. But from Cody's point of view, and you heard him, and I agree with you, what he said about Punk is right. And it's that's how a professional carries themselves.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps saying that on Bust Up, he's not flinching to competition. Here's your biggest wild card going into WrestleMania 40 now. I think, in my opinion, Punk is a bigger threat for taking Cody's spot against Roman than The Rock is at this point. I'm not.
Ooh, that is a good statement. I did not think about that. That is a really good statement.
I'm not believing The Rock is going to have this match with Roman until I see it. We've been trying to map this out for 3 consecutive WrestleManias. I need to actually put stock into it.
And quite honestly, if you were gonna pull the trigger on Rock and Rock versus Roman, all due respect to KO, Sammy, and the Usos, you really should have had Rock and Roman last year at WrestleMania and that be the main event of night 1, and then have Roman defend against Cody night 2.
Mm-hmm. Right. So Punk is back now, and I know a lot of people were expecting the pipe bomb, I guess, on Monday. I want to get your thoughts first because you are objective, and I want to get your thoughts. Did you like what he said? Did you believe the words are coming out of it? He said that he's home. I know this has been like a back and forth, like, he's turned PG Punk and all this extra nonsense. Like, what was your takeaway from what he said on Raw on Monday? And was it bothersome to you that he was at the end of the show, or would you want him to start the show on Monday?
So I don't the placing of Punk, I don't really care. I can understand why you would have him come out first. I can understand him being in the main event spot, so to speak. I mean, you have a polarizing figure like that come back. I mean, of course you're going to want to give him the prime spot of wherever it is. I don't have a problem with him saying that he's home, because honestly, I've heard that before, and I've heard it numerous times from other big stars in the game, and the penultimate one is The Rock, because what was one of the things that built up the feud between Cena and Rock? The fact that he said he was home and he wasn't going away.
Right.
So all due respect, I've heard this shtick before, and you know what? Back to what Cody said. If he's there to help, great. And again, do I think that he's going to go against Roman at Mania? It still remains to be seen. I think right now, and again, this is me backseat booking for a second, I don't think you have him win the Rumble.
Okay.
I think you have him win the Elimination Chamber for a championship match. Because to me, you could have Punk come out 1, you could have Punk come out 10, you could have Punk come out 25, you could have Punk come out 29, you could even have him come out 30. It doesn't matter where he comes out.
Yeah.
But if you put him in a Elimination Chamber match and you have him face, guys like Cody, basically main event. Hell, throw the 5 guys that were in the War Game that won the War Games match, throw them in the Elimination Chamber and have like a Damian Priest or a Finn Balor in there, and have those 6 guys go at it for the right to face Roman at Mania or the champion of their choosing, let's say. And then run it back with Roman and somebody else. Run it back with Roman and Orton or something.
Do you have Cody win the Rumble for back-to-back years or no?
God. When was the last person to go back-to-back? Was it Orton or was it Stone Cold?
I think it's Stone Cold.
Was Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Man.
I'm throwing it out there. There's a lot
an argument can be made. An argument can be made to have, Cody win it. An argument can be made to have Punk win it, an argument can be even made to have Orton win it.
Maybe.
That's the thing. Like right now, I think if you would go on and say who are the top 3 guys that you could see winning the Rumble right now, I could see it being Orton, Punk, and Cody. And not necessarily in that order. And the problem that I have with that is that we really don't know if Orton is truly back full time. He could be back like every other show, but and his focus right now is on Roman. So from a storyline perspective, it makes sense for him to win the Rumble, but you have to look at it, and this goes back to what Cody said in his response. You have to look at it from a business perspective.
Yes.
What makes the best sense business-wise?
Here's the final 4 that I have for the Rumble. Because so what you mentioned earlier, I do think Roman will fight Randy at the Royal Rumble, and I'm fine with that. That's a big time match to have on the pay-per-view. So I have no problem with that. So Punk, Cody, Gunther, and LA Knight. That's my final 4.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
Or maybe you could sprinkle in Jay if you want to. If you want to, I'm fine either way. But LA Knight, Gunther, Punk, and Cody.
Wow.
That's how I would go about it. Because I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people, and it really doesn't matter. It's social media; they're still gonna watch at the end of the day. But like, I don't think it's the end of the world if Cody did win the Rumble. I'm not opposed to Punk winning it either. There's so many great options. I know before Punk came back to WWE, a lot of people were like, oh, it has to be Seth against Gunther or WrestleMania. Hell, Gunther could win it too. I'm fine anyway. But like,
no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't think Seth and Gunther is the option right there. Like if you want the money draw, you want Gunther versus Roman right now. That to me, and just to have Imperium versus. I mean, look at you could have a brilliant 6-way match right now. You could have Imperium versus the Bloodline,
right?
Because let's face it, you could have that. You could almost have that match at Elimination Chamber. As ridiculous as it sounds, Roman doesn't need to defend his championship match at his title at Elimination Chamber.
That's not ridiculous at all. I remember,
or since the SmackDown before Elimination Chamber is in Australia, have the 6-way, have the 6-man at that right there. Have Imperium versus the Bloodline and then just have one of them standing tall. And then you can basically say, okay, well, you know what, Gunther, you're in the chamber match, and if you win, you get Roman at Mania.
Right. Well, look, I'm not opposed to that match. I remember the Undisputed Era and Imperium had like a crazy ass match of one of those World Collide show a few years ago. I think it was. That match is the same.
Yep, got to do it the other way.
Would be really, really good. Really quick, here's my thoughts on the promo from Monday in regards to Punk. I've heard Cody say this too. Sometimes the wrestling business breaks your heart and stuff like that, and you need to get away from home and stuff. And that's aspect of real life too. It's not just only applicable to wrestling. Like a lot of real life aspects happen to what happens in the outside world too. And whether I believe it that Punk feels like that is his home, I see in his eyes that he believes that. Now, he did say the line at the camera, and I'm not going to put a blind eye to that. He said that I'm here to make money. I'm not here to make friends. That is a Scott Hall line. That is that is a common expression that's widely accepted throughout the industry. But, how you went about it, and I just think people had unrealistic expectations going into it. I don't know what his NDA situations are with AEW, what he can and cannot speak. Every time somebody asks Tony Khan about CM Punk, oh, I can't say this for legal situations. I can't say this for legal. Go fuck yourself.
He just doesn't want to put himself in a corner.
Right, exactly. But even still, like, think about this fact, almost 10 years, his first appearance on Raw, to try to map all that out on one episode of Raw on an 8-minute promo, it's impossible. You're not win. Or should you give away everything on one Raw episode?
Right, but for those who are true CM Punk fans, they know his journey already. Like you don't have to have a recap of like what the last 10 years have been for the guy. The guy's been away from sports entertainment, pro wrestling for at least 8 years. He came back to a competitor. Just to me, at that point, Vince was still running WWE. He was still completely closed off to the idea of having Punk back. Mm-hmm. So what did he do? He did the next best thing. He went to the competition. He went to feel out what it looks like there. And yeah, you know what? It wasn't the best fit for him. He got into a lot of backstage altercations with a lot of the talent there. And then that led to him basically getting the boot from AEW. And then what happened a few months later? All of a sudden you have one of the big 4 pay-per-views, and I'm still thinking Survivor Series is a big 4, especially when they're bringing War Games around. Yeah. You have him make a surprise appearance, and what happened? Look literally at the last 3 minutes of that pay-per-view on Saturday. What happened? The place went apeshit because that was the last thing you would ever see. And what was his first line when he came out Monday night on Raw? Well, I guess hell froze over.
Mm-hmm. By the way, great Eagles album, by the way. Throw that out there. I'm an Eagles mark, so I have to throw it out there. Yeah, man. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory, Then he got to the crux of what he was saying about, like, people are scared. I like the line. He was like, I got the brass ring in my back pocket and they can't do anything about it. They can't grab it on their own.
That's right. I mean, right there, that's a very bold line because I'm sure that's going to probably rub some people in the back the wrong way. And you know what? Good on him for saying that because it's still the same Punk that, he is when he left. And, if you want to prove him wrong, step up to the damn plate.
I relate to that though. I relate to what you're saying with that when it comes to like when I do my play-by-play articles and recording the show. I don't feel that anybody could touch me at this point, and I relate to that. And another thing he said on there was what Dusty Rhodes told him about as long as you speak from the heart, you can't go wrong because it's the truth. I subscribe to that as well. So
Yeah.
I thought he hit the points he needed to hit, but again, this is the thing about long-term storytelling and letting have that outside feel. I don't know if Punk is full time or not. We don't know the nature of what his contract's going to be like.
Yeah.
Do we know that the dude's gonna have a fucking chip on his shoulder? The dude's had a fucking chip on his shoulder since day one. Of course, he's gonna have.
Oh, absolutely.
Point to prove. he has to prove. He doesn't really have to prove a point to a Mark who owns a wrestling company that his daddy gave him money for. But at times you got to prove people wrong for how shitty the situations were. But let's move on from that, because I do want to get your thoughts really quick on the other stuff that happened on Survivor Series. So we had Santos Escobar, who's I think been putting out some good TV recently. He's going down the solo route. He defeated Dragon Lee. Obviously, it was the last minute switch because Carlito had an injury going into the pay-per-view, so they had to flip. But Dragon Lee's gained some much needed TV time, so I thought they had a decent match with the circumstances. Then we had, like you said, Rhea retained over Zoe Stark. Also, Gunther and Miz, I've been preaching it on the show over the last couple weeks. I knew those guys were going to have a good match.
That was a really good match, and I, for maybe a fraction of a second, I was going to be surprised that they actually pulled the trigger on Miz, but I was like, nah, Gunther, they're not going to have something like that happen on Survivor Series. You're going to have something like that happen either in Cleveland or at like a B like pay-per-view. So I could see maybe Gunther losing the IC title at maybe Chamber.
All right, good. All right, from Survivor Series, and then anything else from Raw, good, bad, and indifferent. Any takeaways from the men's or women's War Games matches?
The one thing that I hate about Survivor Series this year was the fact that we only had 2 title matches. Like you right now have, what is it, 7 championships on the main roster. You have both men's heavyweights, both women's heavyweights. I'll call them heavyweights.
Yeah.
The tag title, and the 2. I'm sorry, you have 8 because you have both mid-card titles, and you have the women's tag title as well. And you only had a quarter of your titles defended on one of your big four pay-per-views. Now, granted, you had three of those championships. You had members who hold those championships. You had them in the War Games matches. Obviously, Rollins, Priest, Balor, and Io Sky.
Yes.
But to me, that just sounds like just bad form in a way, because you are supposed to be. I mean, this War Games match, to me, both of them were the culmination. They were ending stories. Like right now, it's Judgment Day is now moving on from like Cody, and what's their focus right now? Their focus right now is the returning Randy Orton. And Randy has said, okay, I don't want to deal with you. I've been watching the product. I don't want to deal with you. I want to deal with the bloodline.
Daddy's home.
That was a great line, and I can't wait for the RKO to Rhea Ripley, because that is going to be insane. And mark my words, it's going to happen at the Rumble.
Only in wrestling where we actually acknowledge and want to see women get dropped with finishing moves. That's funny.
And again, the JD McDonough RKO, he literally got RKO'd about, like, I would say 4 inches off of the mat. They literally just threw him onto the mat, and then Randy's just like, okay, what am I going to do this? But I'm sorry, the 2 best RKOs that I have ever seen are the one on Rollins at Mania and the one on Evan Bourne.
Yeah, that one was fantastic too. I love the counter one that he did for Jeff Hardy with their Royal Rumble match, where like Jeff was going for that twist of fate, and then he turned it into the RKO.
Yeah, that was when I think that was the.
It was the Rumble.
It wasn't title versus title. It was just Orton as the WWE champion versus Hardy as the IC champion.
Yeah, at Mess in the Square Garden, that 2008.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because they had the subway car as the promo package.
Yep. Yeah, Barney, you got it right. Logan Paul is the United States champion. By the way, Logan Paul will be on SmackDown this week, for those who are wondering. So Logan Paul will be back on the show. Hey, he's good in the ring. Don't do that.
He's good in the ring, but I'm sorry. You are having right now both men's championships on SmackDown are going to barely be there anymore. Like the only championship holder you're really going to have on SmackDown right now is going to be the Judgment Day, because they hold the undisputed tag team championships, which means they can go anywhere they want to.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I give Logan an out though, because he did just get the title at Crown Jewel. So to have a title defense 3 weeks later with nothing else to it, with the fact Ray was injured, you're not getting a rematch. So it didn't really.
Who's his? And here's another thing: who's his next feud? Because really, it should have been Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. Now that Logan Paul took the title off Mysterio, you can't really have. You're not going to turn Logan face again and go against Escobar. Escobar is definitely the heel right now. You're not going to have heel. It's ridiculous.
You're missing the whole plot here, my man. You know who it is? It's KO. KO.
Oh, that's true.
Paul next. Yep. Don't fret, Bryan. I'm going to get to AEW in just a couple seconds. I don't think you're going to like what I have to say about that cosplay G1 that you're bringing up here, but we'll get to that in a couple seconds. Okay, really, a couple other things I wanted to mention here from the shows. Triple H was not at the show on Monday. They kind of were out in LA. They're trying to figure out what's going on with these negotiations with the TV rights and stuff for the new deal for Raw. Obviously, we know SmackDown's going back to USA in the fall of 2024. NXT goes to the CW. A lot of speculation now about whether WWE goes to TNT or TBS that's being thrown out there.
That would be so interesting to me, because when WWE first left USA, they went to Spike TV, which then turned into TNN, and then eventually they went back to USA. Like, how I can not imagine a world right now, and honestly, NBC Universal really needs to try to retain Raw at any possibility, because if you have both SmackDown and Raw on the same network, I think that really does get more eyes on the product. Mm-hmm. And granted, I read that it was like TNT, TBS. It was Disney trying to throw it on FX. And I'm sorry, Disney getting involved with WWE was not going to be on my bingo card for 2023.
Right.
And then even moving it to a streaming service, I'm sorry, no, because you know what? I already have a big enough issue with Amazon getting a Thursday night football game and having to have it on Prime and have to stream it through my television and have it being like 5 minutes behind of like what the action is. I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous.
No, I don't blame you. I think there's pros and cons, obviously, when it comes to like having the apps like Max and all that other stuff. But for like live events, you gotta keep it at least to where it's easy to access. Or like I said, live events, whether it's TV or pay-per-views, like you have to keep it some sense of tradition there, in my opinion. Like, for example, I don't pay for cable. I use YouTube TV to cover the TV shows each week. And then I obviously have Peacock to do the WWE shows. But, like, I don't know, man. It's up in the air. Raw, I think Raw now with the fact Punk there, not only is a wild card for WrestleMania season, but it's a wild card for the TV negotiations, because you have another big-time star now on the Red brand. I do believe Punk is going to be staying on Raw. I don't know if they attached the label yet, but it really doesn't matter. People go.
Well, they've said he's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. So obviously he's going to show up on SmackDown at some point. Sure, and I'm sure they're going to probably have him advertised for until SmackDown makes the move to USA. Yeah. I'm sure they're going to, if they have another FS1 SmackDown, sure they're going to either announce him or they're going to announce Roman to be on that one, because that's where they always want to make sure that they get the draws at, because FS1, not a lot of people know where it is on their television set, or their cable box rather, or they know that when it moves away from Fox and it goes on to FS1, that there's not going to be that many people going to it anyway.
I want to throw out the question for everybody that's watching and listening to this. Hit us up at Twitter at RatedPWF at Hoots Podcast. If it was up to you, what if Raw had to move away from the USA Network? What network would you like to watch Raw on going forward? Let me know what you guys think, and hit us up throughout the week. Hit us up at the Hoots Podcast. What network would be fine for you if Raw were to move on from the USA Network? I'm curious to see you guys' responses. All right. Like I said, yeah, other stuff going on with Raw. Drew McIntyre continues to develop with his heel character. I like the segment that he had with Seth on Monday, and he's like, one moment he's owning up to not getting the job done in Crown Jewel and owning up to his mistakes and stuff like that. And he's like, look, like what Seth told him, like, you only have yourself to blame for what's going on, right? And then just the little caveat. This is the cool thing about wrestling, right? Like they're getting back on the same page, and then Drew's like, "Hey, Seth, who are you putting the title on the line next week, right?" And he's like, "Jey Uso," and it's just like those little beats right there. It's like you have the window dressing first, like they're going back and forth, and then there you go. There's the beat right there. It just he's like one more. It's like I'm gonna put Jay in the back of my mind, right? The back burner. And then Seth brings up that he's time against Jay. Boom. So we had that. Shinsuke Nakamura attacked Cody Rhodes on Raw on Monday. Cody declared himself for the Rumble. Look, it's a side for you to end the year. You have like 8 weeks till the Rumble. It's not the end of the world. They're not having a 3-month feud, so I wouldn't read too much into it.
No, this is going to be just something to hold the two of them over until the Rumble happens anyway. So,
Malaysia has their own WWE channel. That's interesting.
It's probably the WWE network just transposed over into Malaysia, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's so many international pay-per-views going on. Australia, Backlash is in Paris. You got Berlin, bashing Berlin. Hopefully they don't go to Cleveland for SummerSlam. Who the fuck wants to go to Cleveland? Oh my God. The armpit of life. Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm sorry, they really missed. I understand Backlash going to France. I get it. But real talk, the Backlash that was in Puerto Rico, that was one of the better international pay-per-views. I mean, you go back and you look at the pops for that, and I mean, you look at the pop for Bad Bunny. Yep. My God, man. Like that was probably one of the hottest pops you will hear for a celebrity in ages.
It's one of the coolest visuals I'd seen for sure. That was
the drone shots. Those were amazing themselves.
The island showed up.
They totally did.
Wepa. All right. Randy Orton's dishing out RKOs. Poor JD McDonough, man. That dude's I think he's already had like 3 RKOs already.
We all knew he was going to be fodder anyway. It's not like.
All right, folks. That's what happened this week in WWE. By the way, next week on the podcast, I'm going to do a little preview because NXT has their final pay-per-view of the year called Deadline, which is going to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut, coming up next weekend. So looking forward to that. We'll get more NXT talk on the podcast.
Right in the WWE's headquarters backyard.
Yeah, the brand new headquarters.
I actually drove by there when I was traveling up through Connecticut, and I surprised the hell out of me where they moved it to.
I heard it looks nice.
Oh, it does. It's right on the main highway. It's amazing. You blink and you miss it.
Oh, damn. I gotta check it out for myself the next time I'm there. All right. Coming up next, sit back, relax, strap it down, as Hawk Harrison would say. It's time for another restaurant quality edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. This may be the shortest What the Hell is Wrong with AEW of all time, and it's quite apropos, to say the least. But here we go. A 3, a 2, a 1.
Your meat, beat, 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 your meat.
I'm telling you, my time is right now. Right this minute, 2022. We're living in my time is now. My time is right goddamn now.
Man, what intensity. The quality of the product and the quality of the shows is at an all-time high right now. But I do know that it's a real war between AEW and WWE.
still cashing fat checks, and I am still banging the hottest bitch in this entire place.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
All right, folks, that is wrap up for What the Hell's Wrong with AEW this week. No, okay. By the way, shout out to our good brother Joe Cerna for coming up with this beautiful masterpiece you see on the screen right now. This I'll say right now, Pat, Van Gogh is jealous of this little graphic here. I don't know if people could get in contact and help me out sell some merchandise for the podcast, but if we can make this into like a hoodie or a t-shirt, please, if anybody has info on how to help me out with that, I deeply appreciate it.
We do have to update that picture though, because unfortunately Punk is no longer there.
He's there in spirit.
He's there in spirit, yeah. If you weren't going to have anything, I literally was going to equate that to the Grandpa Simpson meme of him walking into the restaurant, putting the hat, and then walking back around, picking up the hat, and then walking right back out again.
Right. Oh man, I watched the show last night. It's kind of like that Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. And as each time I watch AW, this reminds me more of TNA in like the early like 2010s and stuff like that. And that's not a compliment.
No, and they're still around, which is to me is still mind-boggling nowadays. But again, look at how many like different wrestling independent promotions there are even, and it's still crazy.
Like I said, guys, man, this segment is going to be a little short this week because really there's just not much to talk about. They got a tournament going on right now, heading towards their final pay-per-view of the year called World's End, which will be taking place at the Nassau Coliseum on December 30th, AEW World's End. I kind of wish that this year was already over when it comes to their programming, but it is what
Nassau Coliseum, you'll never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
So Pat, I don't know if you watched any of the show last night.
I don't. The only thing I just find humorous is, and getting back to my point from earlier about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Again, I get why Adam Copeland went to AEW. I respect the fact that he let his WWE contracts like actually expire. He bowed out with grace. He got his final match in Toronto, which he wanted against Sheamus, and I really think they dropped the ball there because I think he could have had a memorable run with the World Heavyweight Championship going against Seth Rollins, but that's neither here nor there. For him to move to I'll call it a secondary promotion because I still don't think AEW is really truly ready to compete with WWE at a high caliber level at this point in time.
Yeah.
So for him to go there and fight for their version of the mid-card title and the TNT Championship, I think is laughable to me. But again, he and Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are at a point in their careers right now where they know what makes good segments. They know what makes good matches. They have had the experience. They've won, multiple titles together. They've won multiple titles, apart from each other. So that to me is the thing that would draw me to AEW is just that rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't even want to touch on the MJF and the Devil subject because I'll say it right now. If it's not Adam Cole, baby, then just get that off my screen because this right now has the reeking smell of a Vince McMahon as the greater power.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, I know. I had to go there. I'm sorry. I had to go there.
There's nobody on planet Earth that wants to see Tony Khan as an on-screen character.
Well, I understand that and I get that, but right now it just has a smell. It has a funk. And quite honestly, no amount of Febreze air that you can spray all over this is going to get that smell away.
No, unfortunately not. But, well, if that happens, and you know how I feel about the word if, but I'll use it in this context. If that does happen, MGF is right. Tony Khan's a fucking mark.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Let me breeze through this because there's a lot of stuff that happened.
Well, just to answer the comment there from Varna about thinking CM Punk is the devil and they were working us all along. I quite honestly don't think they know who they want to be the devil character. I think it's one of these things where they have it as a thing, and they don't know who they want to plug into that spot right now. And then however whoever they want to put in there is whoever they want to put in there. If they want to put in Adam Cole, they'll put in Adam Cole. If they want to put in Tony Khan, they'll put in Tony Khan. But what if if they really want to be crazy and pull the wool over everybody's eyes, just have the devil be MJF himself and just like do some sort of weird funky thing, and then he turns on Adam Cole instead of Adam Cole turning on him.
Right.
And just what is MJF's one of his major taglines? I'm better than you. Kind of writes itself when you think about it.
It's true. It's very true. I'm just telling people you better start bracing yourself for Jack Perry being the devil.
Oh God.
I'm just telling you right.
That would be worse than Tony Khan.
It's got Retribution vibes so far. That's all I'm gonna say from watching the show. Anyways, so outside of the devil stuff, a lot of the focus right now is this cosplay G1 that they're doing called the Continental Classic. So basically what they're doing, they're combining the Ring of Honor World title and the New Japan Strong Openweight title, because basically New Japan is AEW's bitch now, which is a shame to see because New Japan, I thought, has some standards and they just get
they have you would think a reputation, and then all of a sudden they sell their souls basically.
Yeah, exactly. So they have that. So they're combining those two titles and then making it a new title called the AEW Continental Championship. Well, you have the International Championship.
I was just about to say, doesn't AEW have like an international championship?
They do.
So they're making a third mid-card title, or is this like a...
I guess they want to make this as close to the IC title as they can.
Oh my God.
Which kind of defeats the purpose because you have the international and you got a TNT title. So what difference does it make? Yeah, it's
put the question marks all over my head right now in post. Like what the hell?
I'll mention something that I did like from the show last night. I thought Mark Briscoe and Roosh had a very good physical match. I know some people are not as crazy all the time for the New Japan style matches where they're just chopping each other back and forth for like 3 minutes in a row. But
wait, hang on a second. You said you liked something? Hang on a second.
Is that crickets?
Yeah. Hang on a second. It's better now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I like that match. I thought they had a good match. The Toni Storm stuff, I think, has been very entertaining, and new assets.
She kind of. I'll admit that the timeless Toni Storm stuff has definitely good on her for finding a way to kind of market herself in a different variation, because sometimes you do need to reinvent yourself, and I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think Toni Storm is a good female wrestler, but I think AEW needs to take, if they're going to be serious about, female wrestling and they want to build up their division. I mean, hell, they just lost their most marketable star in Jade Cargill to WWE. And guess what? Jade Cargill still hasn't debuted yet in WWE, and we don't know what brand she's going to be on. So I really think they're saving her. I really think they're saving her debut for the Rumble. I think she's going to be in the Rumble. I really do.
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's her and AJ Lee at the Royal Rumble. But I'll just throw that out there.
That would be good. That would be good. I don't think AJ would win the Rumble, but that's good. I could see Jay. I could see Jay being final 3.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Becky wins the Rumble this year.
I'm sorry. That to me just seems very like been there, done that.
You know what, Varn? I'll answer your question now since this is the AEW segment. Mercedes or Ronda AEW bound? I'm going to go with Ronda as my best guess right now because I don't know what's going on with Sasha, nor do I care. So
yeah, I mean, it's funny because Bayley teased a picture of her, Mercedes, Kairi Sane, and Asuka, I think a couple of days before War Games. Yeah. And she's like, I always have a backup plan. And my first thought was like, oh, okay. Does that mean that Sasha is coming back to WWE because she doesn't have anything else going on right now? Mm-hmm. And then, obviously the rest of, the War Games match happened. And I was like, oh, okay. No Sasha, no Michael Cole losing his mind and screaming it's boss time or anything. And I was like, okay, that's kind of all right. I'm not upset by that.
Yes. A couple other positives for the show. I like what's going on with Julia Hart. I think she's getting better as the weeks go by. I think she's making a good name for herself. And the main event with Swerve and Jay White was a very good match as well.
Crazy that he had to leave NXT and they strapped the rocket to him and he's really showing up.
Yeah, he's doing some good stuff. Did a little dance as well.
Yeah.
So shout to Swerve and Jay White. That was a good match. But really the crux of the segment that I really want to address this week is the Edge and Christian segment. Excuse me, Adam Copeland.
Adam Copeland, let's get it right. Get it right.
I know.
Although it's funny as hell that he can still be called the Rated R Superstar.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That was a humongous miss by WWE to continue that, the ownership of that trademark.
Right. Well, you know what, Brother Carter would deduct points off my evaluation for that little mess up there. Damn you, Dr. Jericho. Bastard. All right.
Dr. Jericho, paging Dr. Jericho.
So here's my thing. Obviously, Edge and Christian here will have a good program. I'm not saying, of course, Ray Charles would know that those two would have a great program on TV. I don't know why we're rushing this on a random Dynamite in Montreal when you could hold it off for your next pay-per-view. What's the need to have this match for the title that nobody gives a shit about?
Well, one better, hold it off until you go to Toronto.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand it's Canada. They're both Canadian, and I get the connection. I do, but to your point, I mean, what's going on next Wednesday that they really need to do anything? It's December 7th, and it's not really, or I'm sorry, December 5th. But what is 6 or 6? I'm sorry, I'll get my days right one of these days. But it's not really just random. I mean, I guess to me it's not upsetting to me because it's not like they're not their world championship. It's their secondary title. And what have we seen from WWE in recent memory? We've seen like Gunther defending the IC title in the main event. We've seen the United States Championship being defended in the main event. I don't hate it, but I agree with you. Why is it being rushed? Why is it, like it's basically that bottle of, Pepsi or Coke that, was shaken all the way up and you don't know it's shaken all the way up. And then it's, you twist the cap and it's like 3/4 of it's all over you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the old Simpsons episode with the April Fool's joke where, Bart takes the last can of Duff out of the refrigerator, takes it to the hardware store, puts it in the paint shaker, puts it back in there. Homer pops it open. It's like April, and then you see like the wide shot of everything exploding.
Right.
To me, you let this simmer. You let him go through, Kill Switch. You let him go through. I forget the other guy's name. Yeah. You let him go through those guys to get to Christian Cage. Like Christian Cage says, listen, you want me? Here's the deal. This week you go against this guy. If you get, past him, you go against this guy. And then all of a sudden you think you get him. And then it's like, oh, well, guess what? You win this handicap match and then you get it at the next pay-per-view or something.
Well, again, like you said, I agree with everything you're saying there. The issue for me is not the promos. I get the context of what they're trying to say. Christian's been doing some of his best work on TV.
He really has, believe it or not. I mean, they didn't really when he was in WWE. I mean, I think his best highlight outside of as a solo performer was probably the Intercontinental Championship. Yeah. I mean, he was a world heavyweight champion, but
Yeah, exactly.
He's not one of the more memorable ones to me. I mean, that's the whole thing. And quite honestly, this match is missing the biggest element of all. The biggest, humongous element of all. You know what it is? A ladder.
Right. Exactly.
Why would you not, with the history that these two guys have been in, the history with each other as a tag team, their singles history, why would you not make this a ladder match at the minimum? Yeah. I'm not even saying a TLC match. You don't have to have a TLC match, but make it a ladder match at the minimum.
Right. Dude, man, what really comes down to this is, I've said this before in the show, that AEW is so obsessed with blowing their load at times when it comes to like angles, how many big time stars you see in the first hour of the show, then the rest of it is just like a filler show. Like, they're so obsessed with blowing their load at times. I kind of feel bad for the chicks that Tony Khan engages himself with, because it's just like, oh, let's just get to it quick, and everything's on a rush. But let me finish real quick. It's like, I've already seen the low blow last night. I saw him give a spear already to Christian Cage. I've already seen them in a match on a pay-per-view already, even though it was a 6-man tag. And now to do this, where we obviously know it's probably going to end in some type of disqualification or something like that next Wednesday. But by the time you get to the match now, I've seen everything under the sun. And that's the thing. You're blowing your load already with Edge when you could have been feuding with anybody else on the roster right now. But no, you got to go exactly to Christian Cage, who's the main reason he's there in the first place. And then after that, then what? So, like, that's my thing. It's this the constant need to blow their load at times, not letting shit breathe at times. That's the biggest issue with that. And then you go to the MJF stuff with his promo last night, and he's talking about 600 different things where you can't keep up with what feud he's with at times, and it's like, I don't know if he wrote this down, but him saying that Samoa Joe did not get championship opportunities in WWE is bullshit. He had 4 different time matches on pay-per-view. Yes, I get it. Samoa Joe was not a champion. And yeah, it would have been nice to see him be a champion once. I'm not disagreeing with that. But
I'll agree with you. That unfortunately to me is going to be the biggest wasted opportunity was Samoa Joe, because I really like him and Brock. Like, I think that was probably the biggest ball that was dropped by WWE, because you could have had that program simmer for like 2 to 3 months.
Right. Well, here's the thing with like Max, like, and this is a trope that they use a lot. And they have to bring up other companies because they can't get their own storylines over on their own accord. What does WWE have to do with Samoa Joe and your interaction and the Devil and this person on the side and that person on the side? I just don't know. It's just there. And then and when they do these, they try to do these like zingers, like towards WWE, it falls off like a wet fart in church. That's what it just comes off like. And he's better than that. He's better than that. Doesn't need to go that route to get himself over because he's trying to convince himself that he's a baby face. Okay, maybe it's a ruse and window dressing that maybe I'm missing, which leads him into being the devil again. But still, that's not going to give me any more interest in you by you saying something that's not actually true. Yes, Samoa Joe was not the WWE champion, but let's not lie to the audience and say that he did not get championship opportunities because it's bullshit. It wasn't just the Brock Lesnar stuff. He had a match on pay-per-view with Roman. He had matches with the AJ Styles feud. Let's not bullshit the audience.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he in the Elimination Chamber for either a championship match or for the title itself?
I think so, yeah.
Exactly. So why do we have to have, basically false truths that, Samoa Joe didn't have, championship matches. He did have championship matches. And just going back to one point about, your comment about, AEW blowing their load. Look what WWE did over the course of 2+ years. You had the Mania that The Rock hosted. It was Miz and Cena for the WWE Championship in the main event. What happened? Rock interfered.
Yeah.
You started the program with Rock and Cena. That took a full year to culminate the first time. The first time it took a full year to culminate. And it was also capped off by the Survivor Series tag team match with Rock and Cena versus Miz and Truth.
Right.
And then what happened a year later, Rock and Cena went at it again, this time for the championship. But they didn't have any other interaction between those 2 points. The only other time they had interaction was when Cena won the Rumble and Rock won the WWE Championship from Punk. So that right there is long-term storytelling at its finest.
Right. It is. And what disappoints me is that Max is better than that. I don't know if that's a line that
absolutely he is.
Gave to him, but he's way better than that.
And the funny thing is, I watched a video that's going around. I forget. I don't want to quote the doctor's name wrong, but there's a video going where he went and got his back adjusted and fixed and everything else by one of the again, I forget the doctor's name. I don't want to misquote him, but he literally was MJF. He was the MJF character the entire time, and he was like, his heel persona. And I'm like, dude, this guy is freaking it. Like, he's got everything. You have everything you ever wanted in a Paul Heyman-esque led character. So, of course he's going to be your world champion, but let him do his work. Let him write his promos, give him a couple notes, but let the guy go out there and do what he's meant to do.
Right. It just looks amateur hour. And then you got like these wrestlers on Twitter after Punk showed up at Survivor Series saying, oh man, you gotta believe in AEW. Like this, like it's like a mass email got sent to everybody. You know how that works with companies at times. Oh, here's something to say for like what is it, like damage control, right? Like what's that, right? A PR crisis or whatever. Like it just looks disingenuous. And then this is the last thing I mentioned before I do the Excrement impression. This is it would have to be its own show by itself. I'm not going to go on a 10-minute rant about this, but the fact that Bryan Danielson was the lead guy or whatever the fuck this report is about him, main decision for Punk being let go. Tony Khan, wake the fuck up or have somebody else in your position. The fact that you have another wrestler making that decision for you is embarrassing. I get it. You have Fulham. You got the Jaguars. You got True Media. You got all these fucking projects you're working on. And I get it. Locker room leaders are important. And you should have advice about what's right or wrong in locker room culture and wrestling. I'm not saying to not have that. But how many fucking times are big time decisions being dictated by other performers on the roster? That's Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho, or CM Punk when he was there and said that he didn't want certain people on Collision. Look, CM Punk's my favorite wrestler, but I can criticize the fact that it's stupid that you have a wrestler on the roster saying who and who should not be on a television show that you are responsible for. You make that decision, not the fucking wrestlers. Why you think that didn't work out in WCW? Why you think that shit didn't work out in TNA? The boys should not be in the fucking room.
The inmates are running the asylum. That's the penultimate phrase right there, because Tony Khan is basically saying, okay, he doesn't know what to do. And when Cody and the Bucks founded AEW, they had a general idea of what they wanted with a promotion. And now look where it is now.
Right.
There's a reason right now that Cody's back in WWE after a year. And he's been in WWE for a year because he sees what WWE can become. He sees where it is. And now with Triple H in charge of creative, are you kidding me? Like the next, I would say 5 to 10 years in WWE, if WWE is still around at that point, which I hope it is, like I think they're going to be really good years. I mean, not Attitude Era quality years, but I think it's going to be as the best they can do with what they have.
With all due respect to Bryan Danielson, I don't want to hear that shit that he's making decisions like that.
Oh, and I'm sorry, to have him as your moral compass? Really? We're using that term right now?
Yeah, especially a guy who's a liability to your roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, that'd be worthy enough for the Clown of the Week, which is coming in a couple minutes, but it is what it is. All right, last thing, as we usually do, tradition here on the What the Hell's Wrong AW, I do my tribute to Excalibur as I run down matches for what's coming up on programming this week. So let's do it. All right, folks, coming to you live tomorrow night on TNT. It's another stellar edition of AEW Rampage. Here's your matches. In an 8-man tag team match features Orange Cassidy, Hook, Danhausen, and Trent Beretta taking on the team of Dark Order, Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and Cool Hand, Angela Parker. From there, we'll hear from Legends, Icons, and Sting, and Ric Flair. From there, we have a trios match featuring members of the Don Callis family taking on 3 local enhancement talents. From there, we have a women's trios matches. Don't you guys love tag team matches? We have Chris Statlander, Hikaru Shida, and Sky Blue taking on the Outcasts, Waterfall Jones, Soraya, Ruby Soho, and Anna Jay. And our main event is another trios match featuring Pentagon Jr., El Hijo del Vikingo Commander taking on the Workhorseman and Brian Cage. Then coming up on Saturday, another brand new edition of AEW Collision. We have 3 matches in the Continental Classic. First, Andrade El Idolo taking on Daniel Garcia. From there, we have Claudio Castagnoli taking on Brody King. And the main event, Bryan Danielson against Eddie Kingston. More matches being announced. Follow Tony Khan on Twitter at Tony Khan and get all your AEW tickets right now at AEWTIX.com. That's AEWTIX.com. Woo! And
take a breath.
On that note, we pose the question each and every single week. Ladies and gentlemen, what the hell is wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
All right, folks, one more segment to do here before we get to our main event segment, the Back Porch Q&A segment. We're going to get into a fun segment that I enjoy doing each and every single week where we give an award to Nimrods collectively around the entire universe. It's not wrestling exclusive. This could be to anybody. love to see your nominations right now because we're going to get to a segment that we do each and every single week, otherwise known as the CLAHN of the Week.
I'm not CLAHN. CLAHN. You're big on CLAHN.
One more time for good measure.
I'm not CLAHN. You're big on CLAHN.
Pat, since you are special guest this week, I'll let you have the floor first. Who would you like to nominate as a?
It is so apropos that you put Boston Connor on the screen for that, because unfortunately, I have to nominate the current quarterback of the team that I am a fan of, Mac Jones, because you can seriously not beat the Giants. Really?
Yeah, the gabagool is strong, man.
I mean, really? You're throwing literally 2 interceptions every week. You're throwing pick sixes left and right. Like you were never going to be Tom Brady, and you're not even, in a class to be considered anywhere near as good as anybody else right now. You're just bad, and it just is to take your hashtag, one of your favorite hashtags, and one of Sam's favorite hashtags, hashtag we stinks, because the New England is just really, really bad. I mean, I thought they were going to be at least an 8-win team this season, but they're lucky if they're going to be a 4-win team this season.
Man, it's a shame because Mac did have that first hot streak when he was.
I didn't think he was going to be to the level of like a Patrick Mahomes or like a Josh Allen, but I didn't think he was going to be like this bad.
Hey man, I know a lot of people rag on my guy, but he makes Mitch look like Joe Montana. I just got to be honest, man. Yeah, it's not good looking. And then I know a lot of people, like the fans, were chanting for Bailey Zappi, and really doesn't make a difference.
So it's funny that you say that, because last season I went out to one of your hated rivals. I went out. My dad is a Green Bay Packers fan, so he and I had the opportunity to go out to Lambeau, and I definitely was on my bucket list to go visit Lambeau Field and watch a game. Zappi came in, and quite honestly, I mean, granted, the Green Bay Packers last season, stunk it up too, but he wasn't doing half terrible. He wasn't doing terrible, and I thought, okay. And I mean, the biggest miss that I think as a fan I've seen in the last number of years is freaking, Bill Belichick not keeping Garoppolo around to be the successor to Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. You had your successor all ready to go, and you just, as the infamous line goes, you let him off the hook. you shipped him away to the 49ers, and look where he is now. Like,
I got a question for you, because I put this out on Twitter. So, I really need to know from your point of view, how are you holding up? Are you at the point where you like that, like Randy Quaid in Major League 2? You overpaid. We need Bill Belichick.
I'm not at the point where I'm going to give up my fan card, because I was a fan of New England before Brady ever came into the picture. I was a fan when Bledsoe was there, and before then, and the first time they actually went to the Super Bowl and lost, and I was a lot younger, yes. And I remember when they lost that game, I actually sat there crying, and I was a younger kid, because I was like, I wanted my team to win the Super Bowl. So I've been there pre-Brady. I'm still there post-Brady. And again, I continuously say this to everybody I meet. I have the fortune, as far as a football fan goes and a New England fan, to be born in the era that was Tom Brady. He brought 6 championships to the Patriots. It was amazing seeing the Adam Vinatieri, the Steven Gostkowski field goal kicks. Mm-hmm. The one other thing that really just burns me up, as far as getting back to the Giants for a second, the one thing that will ever be etched in my memory, and that really aggravates me, is the fact that the Giants are the reason the Patriots did not have a perfect season, culminating in the Super Bowl. And that just to me just really always aggravates me. But I again, as bad as they are, and I know that with everything, there comes the highs and there comes the lows, and we're in a low right now, and it won't be like this forever. But I will not give up my fan card no matter how bad it gets.
Well, I hope that you don't fall into the QB vortex that I've been in my entire
I hope so either. I hope so too, quite honestly.
That's a good nomination. I have a couple as well. Von Miller, this is new news out there. Looks like he's going to be in some trouble for a domestic violence situation. I don't condone people who put their hands on women. I think you're a cunt when you do that. That's just my opinion. It doesn't matter who you are. I have no respect for people who do that shit. So Von Miller, you made the list. Deontay Johnson, receiver for the Steelers. Mr. I need to stir drama whenever I'm not getting my way. You, my friend, are a CLAHN. This dude goes and yells at the coordinators, tries to pick fights on the sideline. Tomlin has to calm him down whenever he's not getting his way. And then they fired the offensive coordinator last week. And guess what, Pat? You know what happens? They have the game in the Bengals. There's a fumble on the floor, on the field. He's looking at it, just standing there. Not giving the pile, not giving two shits about it. Deontay Johnson, you, my friend, are a CLAHN. Okay? Big time CLAHN. And then, let's see, who else I'm forgetting here? Oh, yeah, I'm just doing this by default. Elon Musk, you're a CLAHN too. I saw the little thing that you did about the telling companies to go F themselves and blah, 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 blah. No, you can do that yourself, my friend. You, my friend, are a CLAHN. Anybody else would you like to add to the list here while we're at it? Can you hear me?
No, just Mac Jones at the moment.
Just Mac Jones? All right.
I'm not going to I have a half heart to put Belichick there, but I'm not going to do that yet. If he makes really, really bad decisions against the Chargers this week, I'll put him there, but I'm not there yet.
I will say though, it's a bad look that the Gabagool beat Bill Belichick. I will say that. Tommy DeVito, he's still with his parents' house, and the Gabagool, and his mom doing his laundry for him. That's just not a good look, my man. I'm sorry, man. That is shitty. All right, let me breeze through my picks here for week 13, and then we'll get to our final segment here. I have the following here. I have the Texans over the Broncos this week. I had the Niners with an upset over the Eagles this week. That's my upset.
Oh, okay.
I have the Cowgirls beating the Seahawks tonight on Prime.
Yeah.
I got the Colts over the Titans. I think the Titans are going to rebuild soon, so I'll just go with the Colts. That's a toss-up one there. Fortunately, I will be going with the Chargers, even though they suck too, against the Patriots this week. It'll probably be a close game. Chargers always suck on the road, so it'll be a good game, but I think the Chargers will get it. From there, I got the Lion over the Saints. I'm not a Derek Carr guy, and that's not just because Adam's not a Derek Carr guy.
No, but I mean, the Saints, you don't know what kind of Saints team you're getting week to week, so that's fair to say too.
I have the Falcons beating the Jets, and I think this is a big thing here because I know the whole stuff with Aaron Rodgers this week. But I think the Falcons win, and it convinces the Jets to not bring Rodgers back on the field. So,
I think that the next couple of weeks for the Jets are going to be the real, and like we said earlier, that we might have said this off air, that the 21-day window for Rodgers practicing has been open. So to me, that means it's Wednesday, it's Thursday, like right before Christmas. So I think the next 3-game stretch for the Jets is basically their season. If they go 2-1, let's say, or better, or they go 3-0, if they go 2-1 or better, and they have a stronger mathematical chance to be in the wild card, I say maybe Rodgers comes in and talks to them and says, listen, I will come back and we will try to make the push. But if they go like 1-2 or 0-3, then I think that Rodgers is just like, you know what? I'm good. I'll wait. And then the Jets, I think, will try to make the full court press to get Devontae Adams on the team.
Yay, Rodgers.
Well, I mean, it's the whole, and I went through this myself. It's the whole Brady Gronkowski thing again. It's, Brady going there and saying, okay, well, they have all the pieces. What can I bring to the table besides myself? Oh, okay. Oh, hey, Gronk, you want to come back for another like 2 seasons? Okay. Come down to Tampa Bay and, I'll hook you up with a place. Click. So
this is all I'll say about that. Aaron Rodgers can't lace Tom Brady's shoelaces. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Let's go with the rest of these ones. I got the Steelers over the Cardinals, even though I don't think Kenny Pickett's the guy. So they're winning despite of him, and their defense is good. I'm a fan of T.J. Watt. It's the Steelers there. I got the Dolphins whooping the Commanders. Who knows? It might be a close game. For some reason, like teams with hot weather cities, they always struggle in Washington in like these early afternoon games. I don't get it.
Oh well, if it was the Commanders in Miami would win by 21. I would definitely be sure. And anybody that goes and this is history again. Anybody that goes to Miami, like you need to score early, you need to score often, and you need to intercept Tua if you're going to have any chance of beating Miami in Miami.
Facts. Buccaneers over the Panthers. I got the Rams over the Browns. It's crazy. The Browns are 7-4. Sunday Night Football. I have the Chiefs over the Packers. That should not be a surprise to anybody. And
no, I think the Chiefs pretty much can win by anywhere from like 10 to 17.
For sure. And it'll be a great sight to see for sure. And then Monday Night Football, Jaguars over the Bengals. Home game for Jacksonville on primetime against Jake Browning. Sucks what happened to Joe Burrow for sure, but Jaguars get the victory there. So those are my picks for week lucky number 13. Man, this football season is flying by. Pal.
Yes, it is.
On that note, folks, we got one more segment to do here on the podcast. This has been a fun and tremendous episode here, hanging out with the good brother Pat. And now we get to one of our favorite parts of the show, where we get to interact with all of you. It's time, folks, for the Back Porch Q&A session. All right, folks, one more segment to do here in the podcast of Hoots. Pat, I hope you've been enjoying your time so far, my man.
Yeah, I can't believe we've been on for so long.
Yeah.
It's flying by.
Hey, you got a good show when it's flying by like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, folks, our main event segment, as we've been doing for the last couple of months, is the Back Porch Q&A sessions. My time where I get to interact with all the good brothers and good sisters. We don't have fans here at the Hoots Podcast. We have good brothers and good sisters. So I appreciate those who ever take time to send in questions. It could be about anything, life, relationships, sports, anything you want to know about me. Anything that's on your mind, just hit me up at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. And also, if you want to be a sponsor of the Hoots Podcast, you can go to the email address as well.
G-plug.
Shout out to Mick Foley on that one. No, he does cheap pops. I do.
Cheap pops. That's true. That's true.
Right here in Chicago. Oh, man. All right. So I'm going to sprinkle in a couple questions here and there for Pat, like I said earlier in the show. And then if anything Pat wants to ask me in general, you can ask as well. Then we'll take in questions from Chris and then the ones from Varna here in the chat as well. So let's start off with the good brother Chris Zaletta at X-Teen Zaletta 24X. Throw out the X for him, ladies and gentlemen, if you can. Throw out the X, Des Bryant style. I saw him go off on Malika Andrews the other day. That was pretty nasty. All All right, here we go. What up, Oos? Here's the questions for the Q&A this week. What do you think what do you think of the card so far for Wrestle Kingdom? I haven't that since I've lost my job and I lost the other shows that I wasn't covering, like the New Japan stuff. I haven't been catched up with the product. Like the last time I did a New Japan stuff was the G1 earlier this year. So
Yeah, I don't follow New Japan at all practically, so I will not. I will have to respectfully bow out of answering this question.
like, look, it's not even a knock towards the promotions. I love covering other wrestling. It's not tied down to just one promotion for me. But I'm not gonna waste my time with doing trances and watching shows that I'm not getting paid for. It's just fair, and it's not right for me. I can't do it. But I'll take a look at the card here. I'll put it on the screen for you guys, so we can look at this together as a family. Pug said a family reunion. That popped me. So here we go. Here's the poster for Wrestle Kingdom. We have Tetsuya
Naito. Kind of sick.
Tetsuya Naito, who won the G1 this year, will be taking on the champion Sonata, who used to be in the same faction as Naito in LIJ. So that is the main event. I already know that. But here's the matches so far. Here we go. We have Shingo Takagi against Tama Tonga for the Never Openweight title. Hiromu Takahashi against El Desperado for the Junior Heavyweight title. 8 matches on the card here, Pat, and 7 of them are title matches. So this will be right up your alley. I'm looking at it right now. I was
about to say, is this Wrestle Kingdom or Night of Champions?
It is their biggest show of the year, so they're fine.
So it's their version of WrestleMania then.
Yes.
The only one not for a championship is Danielson versus Okada. That's interesting.
Yeah. Pat and Chris, as I'm looking at it, it's like, this would be a show that I would like to cover. There's a lot of intriguing ones. I've done a gazillion Hiromu Takahashi, El Desperado matches, and they never disappoint. You got Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi, a match I've done a gazillion times for the TV title. That's going to be a good one. This 3-way match here of Ospreay, Moxley, and David Finlay should be pretty good for the U.S. title. Bryan Danielson and Okada 2, a rematch from the Forbidden Door. I think Shingo and Tama Tonga can steal the show. That's going to be a good match. And then I'm really happy for Naito because he's been really opining to get this main event slot at the Tokyo Dome for many years. So now he's getting this chance. Now it gets his former running mate in LIJ. I think that's pretty cool. So the card looks really good, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. And for Ospreay, it's interesting. Last year he fought Olivier at last year's Wrestle Kingdom. Now he's in a triple threat match against Cosplay Stone Cold and David Finlay. So that should be very interesting for sure. Good card, pal. All right, next question. Your favorite match from Survivor Series? Outside of Gunther and Miz, for me was the men's War Games match. I know the women's match I thought was fine, and they had all the crazy spots in it. But I thought what I liked about the men's was the storyline aspect in how it weaved with each other. So I'm gonna go with the men's War Games match.
Yeah, I'll agree with both of your points there. I think that Gunther Miz definitely was a not overlooked, but I think it was one that definitely the majority of the fan base didn't think it was going to be that well done, I guess, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to me, the men's War Games match, I think was definitely it's where it had to be. I mean, just the intricacies and the storylines and everything. And I really just want, as ridiculous as it is, I want something done with Damian Priest and the Money in the Bank briefcase. I mean, we're now correct me if I'm wrong, 5 months out from that contract expiring. Because I think he has until
it expires to the next Money in the Bank.
Right. It expires it expires 1 year from when he won it. So I don't know if that's 1 year if it's 1 year to the day, or if it's 1 year to okay, you have until the next Money in the Bank to cash it in. I mean, we've never had anybody had it expire, and we've had a handful of non-cash-ins, and then we had the ridiculousness of last year with, Austin Theory, and then all of a sudden, oh well, I know I'm not going to challenge Roman, so I'm going to turn around and challenge it for, do it for a mid-card title. Which I'm sorry, dumb. You challenge the heavyweight champion of your choice. I'm sorry, you just do that. At that point, then we might as well just have it like you grab a tag team partner and you challenge for the undisputed championship. Then you cash in on a tag team or something.
Right. I think with Priest though, it's gonna be the way to get him out of the Judgment Day. I don't think he's gonna have a successful cash in. I think that's your loophole to have him fight Finn at WrestleMania. So one way or another, JD McGriddle will mess up the color of the briefcase because he had 2 different briefcases. So,
right. I mean, they were teasing that for a while.
Different briefcase. That's why it cost Priest the briefcase in general. So, I agree with your points there, man. We'll see what happens. Damian Priest continued to get more and more paranoid as the weeks go by, so we'll have to see how that plays out because he's been a real hothead recently. Does Pac Rollins feud need the World Heavyweight Championship? Yes and no. I'm fine either way. For me.
Does it need it? No. Are we all better off for it being there? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, who else do you have right now for Rollins to go against outside of the Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre? Okay, I understand Monday Night Raw, random, World Heavyweight Championship match against, Jey Uso. Okay, that's wonderful. That's almost basically like an open challenge, and Jey Uso coming out to accept it. I get that.
Yeah.
But to me, does it need it? No, but you literally are just now printing off a few, sheets of money for the next couple of months because this can culminate now in, Rollins Punk at the Royal Rumble.
I think it's going to be him and McIntyre one more time at the Rumble. I know eventually the angle for Mania for him and Punk is better off there, but I think McIntyre is going to get one more shot.
Is there another main roster event between now and Rumble?
No. No day one, nothing in December. No.
Wow. That is
8 weeks before the Rumble. So,
which is ridiculous because it used to be you didn't have anything between Rumble and WrestleMania, and you have Elimination Chamber now.
Right.
How many, not that you notice off the top of your head, how many weeks are there between Chamber and WrestleMania? Is it 5?
Let me see what date it's on because that's more important. So I know
because to me, to go between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble without anything in between, which means that to me, you're going to have your New Year's Eve or your New Year's Eve week, I should say.
Yeah.
Show. I mean, the Christmas week and New Year's week of Raw and SmackDown are usually pre-taped. They're usually recap shows. Like the New Year's Eve week is usually a recap of everything big that happened during the course of the year.
It's 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
6 weeks between Chamber and WrestleMania.
Yeah. It's 6 because
I could see them making the first Raw of 2024 a live event-esque program.
I'm pretty sure it'd be a loaded show
because they really, without anything like that, I could see them having a McIntyre Seth culmination at the first Raw of 2024.
That's where Priest fails his cash in. There you go.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. That's how you kick off the new year.
And then you have one of them. You have him and Finn feud, and then it just gets even hotter at the Rumble where one eliminates the other, or they both get dual eliminated.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's I could see it coming. I have that feeling. it happen for sure. Let's go through these rest of these ones really quick. We know the end game, but more likely to happen. Sasha returning at the Rumble or returning in 2025. I'm gonna go with the Rumble. I don't know. Does it really make a difference if she goes to AEW? Is it really going to take them to the next level? I don't think.
I don't think so. I mean, look at it this way. We never thought Punk would come back to WWE. So, I mean, I think it's likely Sasha comes back to WWE because, again, Triple H is now in charge.
Yeah.
So, but look at where Trinity went. Trinity went to Impact Wrestling, and she's there. She's the Knockouts champion right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
he has an interesting one here about Randy Orton. He says, "When does Randy Orton hand the Bloodline Notes receipts?" And then the other question he has here: "What do you think of the Continental Classic so far, and who do you have winning it?" I'll take these two really quick. Randy, I'm pretty sure it probably started on Friday because I think they said he's going to be there in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might start tomorrow. So
yeah, I would say this week.
Peyton's going to come out, brag about Solo some more, and then bink.
Yep.
So I think tomorrow. As far as the Continental Classic, it's there. It's not really any stories coming out of it. I think it's kind of predictable out of both sides of the group. It's probably going to be Danielson and Swerve at World's End. It'll be a good match, but I think either Danielson or Swerve will win that Triple Crown Championship that they're coming up with now. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Do you think we see AJ Lee in the Women's Rumble? Maybe. I'll give it 75% chance.
I would say she's one of the callbacks. I'm not going to say legends because I don't give her a legendary status. I'll say she's one of the callbacks, the throwbacks to like a prior era.
Correct. How about this one? It's a football question. He asked, "Who is to blame for the struggles with the Buffalo Bills?"
Oh boy. I really don't think they're struggling. I think that they just are they're on a bumpy road.
They can't close teams.
Yeah, I think that there's blame to go around. I think when you talk about blame, the top two guys you look at are the head coach and the quarterback. So I do think Josh Allen has a little bit of blame there. I think he's been in the league long enough to make better football decisions.
Yes.
But I don't fully put the blame on him.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add some to Sean McDermott because he decided to let Leslie Frazier go. And he's also a defensive guy. And the fact that their defense just can't find a way to close games and the amount of touchdowns that they're giving up from the passing point of view, it's not a good look. I know Stephon Diggs could be a diva at times and he could act like a head case at times, but it's a collective thing. Josh Allen is not without fault. The whole team in general is not without fault. But it's a disappointment for sure because a couple of years ago when they had that crazy divisional playoff game in Kansas City, everybody thought, "Hey, man, Bills are going to win the Super Bowl sooner or later," and they can't seem to figure it out. So we'll see what happens. Final question here for Chris. He says, "Will Punk eventually hold one of the world titles again when it's all said and done?" I say yes, and I think he holds the World Heavyweight Championship.
I agree.
Yes.
I don't think that the current roster, the only people I see holding the undisputed championship, Roman, Cody, maybe LA Knight.
Yeah.
Maybe Orton.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely not Punk. I don't think that he has been forgiven.
Right.
That's it. Quite honestly, I would say those are my top candidates for the next 2 or 3 title holders. Dark horse, Solo.
Solo for sure. I think Sami Zayn is on that list too.
I could see Sammy winning the World Heavyweight Championship, but I don't see him as an undisputed champion. I think that, and it really pains me to say this, I think the train left the station on Sami Zayn as far as a undisputed champion goes. I think if you were going, I mean, again, with Chamber being in Montreal last year, I get it. You want to have that blow off match because you had the ending to Rumble with him hitting the chair on Roman, and then you needed to have him go through the program to get to KO, to get to Mania, to get the tag titles. I get that.
Mm-hmm. I want to give a shout out to Chris really quick for the questions this week. Some really good ones, as always, my man. Pat, you have anything you wanted to ask me before we head out of here?
You did touch on your final 3 or 4 for the Rumble.
Yeah.
Who do you think your final 3 are for the Women's Rumble?
Okay. That's another good one too. I'm gonna throw in Becky, like I said, because I think she is one of the favorites to win. I'll throw Jade in there because I think she's gonna clean house.
Yeah,
I think she's gonna win.
I agree.
I don't think she's gonna win, but I think she's gonna clean house. And then I'm gonna have. Let me just do 4 because it's easier that way.
I'll give you my 4 too. They're probably going to be the same 4 that I have.
Yeah, I got Becky, Jade, Bianca, and then because I think sooner or later Charlotte's gonna get the title off of Io. That's my idea because I have a feeling that maybe Bianca and Charlotte fight each other at WrestleMania. But it'll be Becky, Jade, Bianca, and then Bailey will probably be the 4th one.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking this either Bailey or maybe like Tiffany Stratton or somebody like that from NXT. That'd be pretty cool.
So 3 of your final 4 are actually similar to myself. I have Becky, I have Charlotte, I have Jade, but instead of Bianca, I have Bailey as the 4th.
Ooh.
I think that you're obviously going to have the stare down with Jade and Bianca. You're obviously going to have the stare down with Jade and Charlotte. You're obviously going to have the stare down with Jade and Becky. So with that happening, I think Jade, and as ridiculous as this is about to sound, and if it happens, my God, I'm a genius. I think you have Jade and Bianca start the Women's Rumble.
That's not a bad idea at all, actually.
And I think you have Charlotte come in about 14 or 15, and I think you have Becky come in at like 22 or 23. Mm-hmm. But I think there's something where they get, and I hate that I'm about to say this. You have something where one of them gets knocked out and gets thrown out of the ring, but not over the top rope. It's one of those classic, okay, they're knocked out of the ring and they either roll out or they get thrown through the center rope or second rope or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they make this miracle comeback and it's something else. Because I could see Jade like having the stare downs with Charlotte. I could see Jade having the stare downs with Becky, with Bianca, with Bailey. I could also see the stare down with somebody like a Nia Jax. Because you would be like, it was basically the female version of Brock Lesnar and Keith Lee,
right?
Like from a number of years ago,
mm-hmm.
And it's like Jade's like, oh, okay, we got somebody serious coming in now, and
right.
And I really want to go to Tampa and watch the Rumble because when I went to Florida in December of last year, I happened to be like flying out of Tampa Airport, and Raymond James Stadium is literally next to like Tampa Airport. So like that area is just like a buzz with everything.
I had a good time there. I went to the pandemic mania. I went to that show.
Yeah.
That was a good time. I enjoyed it. Any excuse for me to go to Florida, Pat, you know my situation.
Oh yeah. I mean, Florida is amazing. It's funny. I walked on the beach in shorts in the middle of December in St. Augustine. I look at my wife and I'm like, what is our lives? What are our lives right now? We are standing, and I'm literally wearing a Santa hat, and my wife and I took a selfie on the beach, and I literally am like, I'm smiling ear to ear because I'm like, what is my life right now? Like we're standing on the beach in December in Florida, and it's like 60 something degrees, and it's like, what in the hell?
It's my big escape, man.
Yeah,
Being in
I
Florida,
can understand why.
me being in Florida, just helps me get like my weight off my shoulders, just like collectively. Like it's like my place where I'm happiest the most. So, who knows? Maybe one day soon. I'm for certain. One day for sure. I'll be moving down there. But anything else personal or anything else you wanted to ask me or no?
No, I mean I'm good.
I wanted to ask this earlier. What was your top 5 like bands and stuff?
So I really don't have a top 5. I've grown up in like four decades worth of music. I was born in 1980. I've been through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the
Yes.
teens, and now like the 20s. So I have a lot of respect for various genres of music, and anything like on my Sirius, I have a variety of, like, I have the 90s channel, I have like the pop channels, the latest hits channel. I just am a very well-rounded, we'll call it, listener of music. Like, I have respect for every genre except for country.
Oh man.
But like rap, I respect rap. I respect pop. I respect rock. I respect metal. I respect jazz. Like all those genres of music, they resonate me with in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I mean, to me, like one musician that really resonates with me a lot is Carlos Santana.
Yes.
Mainly because his playing of the guitar, and just like I respect a lot of artists that use their voice, and a lot of songs that have various, like the lyrics of certain songs. Like there are some boy band songs that I am a fan of, and I'm not a fan of because of the artist that's singing. I'm a fan of the lyrics of like the content of the song.
Right.
I'm not like I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not like, a member of the Backstreet Boys fan base or NSYNC or whatever else. But some of the songs that they sing resonate with me on a personal level.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the breakup songs that Taylor Swift has sung over the last few years have resonated with me because it took me a very long time to find and start dating my wife. So a lot of the songs have resonated with me in my past. But there are some songs by Carlos Santana where he does like the guitar riffs, and just he goes out on like these 1 and 2 minute long guitar solos. And it just to see what that guy can do with a musical instrument like that just blows your mind.
Right.
And again, I'm a fan of like Phil Collins.
Phil Collins. Yeah.
In the one thing that I always go to is the song "In the Air Tonight," and just the way that he just talks about the environment he's in, and then he leads it into that iconic do doom do doom do doom do doom do doom drum solo is just, to me, it is a moment in time, and it just is so amazing that certain artists can hit certain things of that caliber.
Right. No, man, that's pretty cool. Like I always loved Phil Collins. Obviously, being a kid growing up in the mid '90s and stuff.
Genesis,
the Tarzan stuff, like "You'll Be in My Heart." That's one of my favorite songs. Going back to Santana, a little funny story. Like I won over my first girlfriend by playing Maria Maria. And
that is one of my favorite songs of his, just because of the beat of the song, and it just is smooth though. I mean, not to say that the song "Smooth" by him isn't bad or anything, but just the beat of that song is just like it gets you in a mood.
Yeah. Yeah, Maria was a good thing for me. Swoon over my first and ex, Carla, and then there was this other girl that I grew up with and went to school with. Her name's Felicia Brock. She was doing like raps and stuff, and she's pretty talented in her own way, you know. So shout out to Felicia as well. And what else? The other day, not the other day, but last week, I did a cover, acoustic cover of Black Hole Sun, the Soundgarden song. That was one of the hardest songs I've learned how to do on the guitar because it's got funky tuning and stuff, and it's an interesting one to do. But like my favorite people that I listen to is obviously the Eagles. Like you said, a lot of their lyrics really resonate to me. If you listen to a song like Lion Eyes or New Kid in Town, it's a good song that stands out to me. Hell, even the song that we used this week for the podcast is called The Next Storm by Frank Turner. Ironically enough, is the music video that CM Punk was in. So I thought it's the perfect way to bring it in for the show this week. So
It's very apropos.
Very apropos. Pat, my man, I want to thank you for taking time out of your off day to come on and ask to be on the podcast as Hoots. It's been
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you. Thank you as always for having me.
No, as always, man. I appreciate it. Pat, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and anything else.
It's right there at Rated PWF on X or Twitter. I'm sorry, still going to call it Twitter. I definitely just, I have random ramblings of, just the world we live in. There's no rhyme or reason to it because it changes every day.
Facts. All right, folks. By the way, also I want to give shout out to Chris for the questions this week. As always, appreciate it, good brother, and shout out to Varna for the questions. I skimmed over the questions he did because we kind of addressed it as the show was going on. But thank you, Varna, for interacting with us. As always, if you're watching the live video of the podcast, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're very close to 500 subscribers.
Down there somewhere.
Yeah, it's in the description box. Make sure to go get it. You could follow me at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I'm at Instagram at Joshie Lopez Media. Make sure to check out my wrestling play-by-play articles at WrestlingHeadlines.com. It's not a copy-paste transcript. I leave no stone unturned. You're getting the full dialogue of the promos.
This guy over. Oh God, I'll get this camera right one of these days. This guy, I can't even point correctly.
You got it right.
This guy over here puts in hours upon hours upon hours, and he is an amazing transcriptor. And if any website out there needs somebody that's like really, balls to the wall, like passionate about his job, that's the guy you want writing your stuff.
I appreciate that, my man. Pat, man, we had a blast today. It didn't even feel.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm looking at the clock and as we're live, and it's over 2.5 hours. And I'm like looking at the time. I'm like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock already.
Yeah, it's
at least 3 o'clock my time. Your time is 2 o'clock. So,
no, man, I appreciate you, man. This is a fun episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Banger, as the kids say, another banger in the books.
Yeah, and on the scroll down there, you're 11 away from 400, and if I have the opportunity to be on there, I'll be on there for 400, sir.
Sir, you will be at episode 400 for sure. And now, folks, we go from 11 to 10, and we're hitting the big stretch here. So remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. No pay-per-views to go over this weekend, so it's nice to have a little break. Dude, I went from SmackDown, Survivor Series, Raw, and NXT the last 5 days.
I was about to say you went, you hitting the pinball around the machine there, sir.
Yeah, my fingers are going to fall off by the time I'm 50, so I'm just accepting that fact. But on that note, for Pat, I'm Joshie. This has been episode 389 of the Hoots Podcast. Welcome back home, CM Punk. And have a wonderful weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you next week. As Punk said, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make
money.
Peace.